Tell me what you see. Perfect paradise, tearing at the seams. I wish I could escape. I don't wanna think. I wish I could erase it, make your heart believe, but I'm a bad liar, bad liar. Now you know that I'm a bad liar, bad liar. Now you know you're free to go. All my dreams never mean one thing, just happiness lying a diamond ring. Oh, I've been asking for, I've been asking for.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is Farhan. Thank you for joining us in tonight's session of US Real Estate Secrets Uncovered. All right, first and foremost, I hope you guys been enjoying the tunes that were being played just a while ago. And that was from our resident DJ, Zed. All right, so we've got some very nice tunes going on, and I hope you guys are having a pretty great Thursday evening. I am speaking to you right now from Singapore. Okay, so I just want to do a quick check just to make sure that everyone is tuning in and can hear me well. Okay, let's do a quick check. Let me know where you guys are from before we begin. So it's good to know where you guys are from. Type in the chat, all right, where you're from: Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia. Where are you from? I'm from Singapore. Hi Doris from Penang. Hi Pei Wee Ling from Singapore. Hello neighbor. Anyone else? Who guys? Linda, Eric Liu from Sarawak. Nice to have people from Sarawak. I love Sarawak. I've been there twice. Kuching, really nice place. Jose Miller from Singapore. Hi, nice to meet you. Anyone else in this room? Where are you guys from? Daisy from Philippines. Very nice, Daisy. King Hyong Chu from Kuala Lumpur. All right, very nice. We are missing Kuala Lumpur back here in Singapore as well. Well, this time of the year where it's towards the year end, we love to travel to Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur. Yeah, we're missing that a lot right now. So, well, here I am again. Welcome, everyone. For those of you especially who came on early, I think some of you came in as early as 7:55. Thank you so much for being early and on time. Tonight, we're going to be exploring a few things about US real estate, and I hope you guys are excited. I'm going to be sharing with you a lot of information that you may find very different from what you're used to in your home country, right? Even Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and probably some things sounds a bit strange, but we're going to be covering that, and I hope it's something that you're going to be enjoying doing and exploring together with me, right? So let's go. Right, so here we are from Noble Sky International. This is the company that's presenting to you this presentation tonight. We have been helping people grow their wealth since 2014. We are happy that we are actually in this space right now to be helping you guys tonight as well. Hopefully it's something that we can share with you, and you find that US real estate is something that is actually feasible and something that you can work on for yourself, right? So this really is for you if you actually have money set aside for investments. Okay, I think some of you who are in here tonight, most likely you are already investing somewhere, right? And maybe you already have money set aside, now you're trying to discover options. So tonight, I hope you discover some great options in US real estate. And if you're looking especially for high performing real estate investment models, okay? I know for most people who are here as well, you are a believer in real estate. If you don't believe in real estate, most likely you won't be here. And you want to actually look for high performing models, and here what we're going to be sharing with you tonight, as well as if you want to own multiple properties. So we're going to be sharing with you how you can actually do that through US real estate, right? So let me know in the chat which one of you, or if any one of this is actually fits your profile. Okay, if you have actually money set aside, you're actually looking for real estate investing, right? Just give me a thumbs up or a hands up. Is there a hands up icon in Zoom? I'm not sure. I think there's a thumbs up or something like that. Give me a thumbs up so I know you are tuning in, and I know you are actually this is actually who you are as well, right? So we know we can get to know a little bit better with each other a little bit better, right? Okay, so before I begin, can I know who amongst you have already invested in real estate? Okay, whether, let me know if it's local or whether if it's overseas. Type in the chat. You type in the chat. If it's local real estate, just type in local. If it's overseas, type in overseas. And if it's overseas, do me a favor, type in which country that is. So I can see the level of where you're coming from. Maybe you, we can share a little bit of experiences, where you're from and where you've been. Let me know who here has been investing in real estate already. Anyone? Wow. Am I speaking to really people who have never invested in real estate before? Not yet. Eric, okay, great. So I hope tonight you'll be experiencing something. Anyone else has experienced investing in real estate? In your local country is fine, or maybe somewhere else. Mr. Siu Pang Chan, not yet. Okay, great. So, all right. So if you have not yet, so I hope this session tonight is something that will be an eye-opener. It's something that you're going to be able to compare at least with your local market, and then you'll make a decision whether it's something that you can actually go for. All right. So let's move on. So what will you be learning tonight? Is actually 3 secrets I'm going to be sharing with you. And the first secret, number 1, is how do you buy US real estate at 70 to 80% discounts off the market value? And here, what we mean really is, if the value of a property is this much, right, you're going to be buying it at this low. It's about 20-30%. That's how we've been buying properties for our investors, for our clients, and that's how they've been making their money through US real estate, right? Who's excited with secret number 1? Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you're excited with secret number 1. This is what we're going to be sharing with you tonight. Great, thanks guys for your thumbs up. Really great. Okay, secret number 2, how do you own multiple properties using unconventional leverage? Okay, so I know most people, when it comes to real estate, first thing that comes to mind is, how do I qualify for a loan? Because I need to make a deposit. I can't afford the whole property, right? So I need to take up a loan. Here, tonight I'm going to be sharing with you how the strategy, we buy properties in the US without using bank loans, and how you can actually use that as a strategy to own multiple different properties in the US, right? And point number 3 is, how do you 10x your returns, especially if you actually only have been saving money in the banks, okay, been putting in very, very low risk returns, right? Maybe you've been putting in bonds and things like that, where they give you very low returns, but of course it's a lot more stable, right? So how do you 10x that with what you can do in US real estate? Okay, you guys ready? Okay, I hope you guys are ready. So I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit more about what we do, and first and foremost, it's most important for you guys to understand the biggest rule of real estate investing. Anyone can make a guess. What is the biggest rule of investing in real estate? Type in the chat. Type in the chat. There's no wrong answer. It's everything is good. Eric Liu says money. Mr. Pei Wheeling says holding power. Great answers. Anything else? Biggest rule of investing in real estate. Anyone has any ideas? No? Okay. Make money when you buy. Yeah, Linda Baka, that's right. Okay, so this is our rule of investing in real estate. You make money when you buy and not when you sell. Okay, I know this sounds a little bit strange. Buy low, sell high. Yeah, in a way, it's like that. So in order for you to make money the moment you buy, you got to buy it at a stage where you're actually going to buy it at such a low price, so that the moment you buy in, you actually make money. And I'm going to illustrate to you how that works in how we do it in Noble Sky, right? So a little bit about myself, right? So I'm Farhan. I'm from Singapore. Obviously, I'm actually the head of marketing and communications in Noble Sky International. So I do a lot of the public comms out through what we do, the social medias and the advertising campaigns and all that come from my marketing department. So the fact that you're here tonight, I'm so grateful that it came from the effort from my team that have run advertisements, and you guys actually saw the advertisements, and you guys are actually interested to attend tonight. So that's what my department does in Noble Sky, right? I was a former senior officer in the Singapore Police Force for 8 years. And I actually resigned in the end of 2017. Reason being, I have this very great interest in running business of my own. But as you guys know, in the civil service, I think in most countries as well, you can't do multiple jobs, right? You can't hold a second job, third job if you're in the civil service. So in my case, I didn't want to wait too long until I'm too overcommitted into the police force and I couldn't quit anymore. So I decided that I'm going to take that leap of faith and go into entrepreneurship, right? So currently I own multiple businesses for the past 3 years since I left the force. And of course, I'm here only because I myself am a real estate investor in the US. Before I invested in the US, I was actually a client of this company, Noble Sky International. That was back in 2018. And I loved what I discovered so much that I decided to come on board and help the company to grow. Right, so this is who I am, a little bit about me, and what I do is I am a proud father of 3 children. I've got 2 daughters and a son, and I do a lot of what I do is really because of my kids and my family. I enjoy a lot of running because that's how I de-stress. You know, especially in the Singapore lifestyle, you know, we are very stressed out people, and running helps me to actually release a lot of that. And I share a lot about digital marketing. That's what I do. And maybe some of you are also in the digital marketing space. So, you know, it's a very interesting space, and it's something that I love to do a lot. All right. So this is about me, but I need to actually introduce you to someone who is dear to me and someone who's actually a friend and also mentor of myself, for myself in US real estate. He's actually Rao Said. Okay, so I need to introduce to you Ralph Said. He's the founder and chief investment strategist at Noble Sky International. And this company was founded by Ralph Said in the year 2014. All right. And since then, in fact, since 2018, we've actually assisted more than 300 investors across the world. And we mean really across the world to get into US real estate. And we have actually acquired more than 63 properties, I think, by now, in the span of 2 to 3 years. All right. And we've only been paying about 20 to 30% of the market value. And that's what Ralph Said has been able to do. So I want to share with you a little bit about Ralph Said and his story of how he set up Noble Sky International. And through his story, I'm going to be sharing with you the lessons that he learned that brought us to where we are today. And it's going to help you in your own journey in US real estate. All right. Can I go on? All right. I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about what Ralph does. Okay. So it's a short video from Ralph Said. Okay. Enjoy.
Many of us are looking for opportunities in life that will enable us to empower ourselves to drive towards our goals and purpose. Some of us might find that the jobs we had are just not enough and thus embark on another journey to win this game in life. I decided to take the plunge in entrepreneurship and investing. Not in my own country, but rather halfway across the world in the United States. I left my stable job and started a real estate business only to be beaten, lost, and even more frustrated. I had to leave my family for months, my daughter who was not even in primary school, and my son who was just a toddler. But I badly wanted to win this game in life and provide them with the best, so I had that decision changed my life forever. Hi, Rao Said here. I'm the founder and chief investment strategist at Noble Sky International. I'm a proud father of 2, Leila Mariam and Yusuf Aidan. I also count my nephews and nieces my own children as well, and I have my wife and business partner Aisara to thank for as well. They are my reasons why I have been working so hard so they may pursue their dreams and achieve their goals. Giving them the best to score in life was my objective. Coming from a broken family, I knew the financial pain and hardship that my parents had endured while raising my siblings and me. I value their sacrifices that have made me into who I am today. This attitude of persistence and tenacity has pushed me beyond my boundaries to create multiple streams of income in property investments. I built Noble Sky since 2014 and have achieved the highest standard and recognition my business has to offer. I'm proud to say that we are the only company in Asia that has enabled thousands of people from all walks of life from across the region to affordably own multiple portfolios of properties in the United States of America with no debt. I'm highly meticulous, and many who have worked with me will understand that I want the best for all my clients. I continually seek mentors and those more successful than I am in this field to gain more experience, and the intensive research we provide has allowed me to create life-changing decisions for my client. I presented them with my proposal, researched the desired property, and facilitated the whole process to suit their portfolio. Satisfaction on their faces and from hearing their voices after finally owning a profitable property that they never dreamed of before is the driving force for me. I will do the same for you because I was once looking for that purpose and I found my answers. I love connecting with people, and to me, it's not just about making a transaction, but more about having relationships built to last. I look forward to sharing my life's work with you. My life's work has empowered hundreds to realize a life they never once thought possible. My name is Rao Said, your go-to US real estate investment strategist.
Right. So welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed that short video from Rao Said, the founder of Noble Sky International. Every time I play that video, I actually feel, it touches me because I can relate so much to what he does, and which is why I actually joined the company. And a lot of what he does is really for his family, for his children. And I believe some of you are here today also because you're actually looking for ways of how you can actually, build an investment portfolio, for example, to fund your children's education, maybe to talk about building a generational wealth to hand over to your kids. These are things that we have in plan, right, in life. So I'm so, every time I play this video, I can really feel where he's coming from, and I can really relate to that. And if you guys can relate to it, stay tuned. We're going to be sharing with you how you can actually, make use of yes real estate to get to your financial goals, right? So how it all started with Raul's side was actually back in 2012. He was, he flew into San Jose, California to attend a workshop, right, by National Achievers Congress. And I think these days we might not see this going on as much as often because of COVID and all. But then in 2012, Raul flew up to the US to listen to people like Anthony Robbins, Donald Trump, and his mentor then was Robert Kiyosaki, someone who actually influence his thoughts and ideas about investing, right? Who here have heard of these people, of Robert Kiyosaki at least? Anyone? Give me a thumbs up if you guys have heard of Robert Kiyosaki. Okay. All right, great. Thanks for the thumbs up. So I know you guys are listening. And what's going on is when Ralph was there to listen to Robert Kiyosaki, especially talk about investment, actually the one who actually caught his attention was none of these three speakers. It was someone else on the stage that spoke to him about investing in real estate, and that it could actually work for foreigners. That was what got Ralph really, really interested. Right, so what Ralph did was he actually approached the speaker and told the speaker that, okay, I'm going to learn more about what this is all about. And this was what happened. He actually saved up some money. Ralph saved up some money and said that, okay, I'm going to now pursue investing in real estate and see how it goes. So he actually attended his workshop back in 2014. And if anyone can make a guess, how much do you think a workshop like that costs? I think it was about 5 days workshop in the US, learning about real estate. How much do you think such a workshop would cost? Any ideas? Just put it in the chat how much you thought the cost, the workshop cost. Anyone? 10K, Daisy says 10K. Anyone has any idea? Siu Pang said $10,000. Eric said no idea. Okay. Anyone else has any guesses? No? Okay, so the cost of the workshop basically was $20,000. All right. So what's the point of telling you about $20,000 is not that because it's so expensive. The fact is that the value of $20,000 then, okay, is what Ralph has actually learned through the workshop, is what you're going to be learning today. Of course, in a compressed version, the lessons that he has learned through that $20,000 workshop is what you're getting here tonight in a compressed version. All right, so this is what we're going to be sharing with you. Okay, so after he learned about investing in US real estate, he realized that, okay, wow, there's a lot of things that I can do. Even as a foreigner, I can actually buy properties in the US. Ralph had a sum of money. Then I think it was about $150,000 that he had as an initial investment into the US, and he went out to go for to buy his own first property in the US. All right, so this was what he thought he could do. After learning from the workshop, he thought that he could buy a property like this for $5,000. Okay, that's what he was told. He can buy properties at very great discounts, right? He could sell it at $200,000. So imagine if this is something that you can do, you just repeat the whole process 5 times, 6 times, and you can actually just be a millionaire, right? But the reality on the ground is this: you can actually buy a property for $5,000. That's not a scam. You can really buy a property in the US for $5,000, but it's probably going to look something like this, and it will be very hard to sell. All right, so that didn't deter Ralph. Of course, he realized that, okay, there's work to be done, so he needed to do research and all that. So what he did was to enter into an auction in Houston, Texas. So this was the year 2014, and Ralph had flown into the US to enter into an auction in Houston, Texas, but he did not win anything in the first round at all. Right, so you can see here what's going on. You can see it's just, if you can see, I know the picture is a little small. In the back, where the piece of paper is a list of properties that are being auctioned, and the rest of the people in front are people who are going to be bidding for these properties, right? So Ralph was actually here. He is the one who took the photo, and like he was participating. You know, you can imagine how the whole bidding works, right? So unfortunately, even the second time, after not winning the first time, he flew in for the second time. He went back to Singapore, spent 1 or 2 weeks back in Singapore, flew back up to the US again to enter into a second auction. He did not win anything again. All right, but only on his third attempt, after going back after the second auction to Singapore, staying there and waiting for the next auction. He flew back out to Houston, Texas, and he actually won something, right? So hooray! Finally, he had won something, and this is what he got. So that's Ralph actually signing. This is the document. He had paid $28,000. Can you guys make a guess what he won? So for $28,000, Ralph actually won 4 properties. So you've heard that right, 4 properties in the US, and this was what the property looked like. So it was actually a condo unit. So he won 4 condo units for $28,000, all right, which means one condo unit was priced at $7,000. And he kept one of the condos in Houston, Texas here. This is how it looks like. It's not the typical type of condo that we are familiar with in our country, but this is a condo that is located in a very blue-collar worker community. So there were a lot of people who and this was located near the airport as well. So a lot of people actually rented this place, the condo, because it's near their workplace, right? So do you think this is a great property? $28,000 for 4 condo units, and you can actually rent them out. Yes, right? Give me a thumbs up if you think this is actually a great win, right? And if you actually think this is something that you can actually get yourself involved in, right? So this is what he got in. So if you were Ralph and you had actually won a property of 4 condos for $7,000, what will you do next? Okay, so for Ralph, of course, and I would do the same as what he did, I would actually go into the market and buy more properties. If I was an investor, that's what I would do, right? No one will, in his right mind, having won this many properties at such a great price, realizing that I'm just going to stop there. So most people will want to go in and win more properties and buy more properties, right? So that's exactly what Ralph did. And this time around, he was told that, okay, San Antonio is a great market as well. So he decided that it's going to go into San Antonio. But this time around, after going up and down between Houston, Texas, and Singapore, and spending a lot of money on lodging, on flights, on food and everything, he realized that by the time he was in San Antonio, he only had about $10,000 left for his investments, okay? So this is what happened when he was in San Antonio. He committed the #1 mistake of property investing. So this is the reason why I'm sharing with you his story, because in San Antonio, when Ralph only realized that he had only $10,000 left, and he had already told everyone back home that, hey, look, I've won great properties and I'm going to come back with more. So this time he's realized that, okay, I'm not going to come back with nothing, right? So what he did was, with $10,000, he entered an auction in San Antonio, and he couldn't win on any properties that was shortlisted by him. Reason being, $10,000 was not enough for him to then win any good properties that he had shortlisted. So what he did was, he Googled the list of properties. He just Googled on the next property that was in line, and just checked out Google image of that particular property, and he saw that it was on the map, and that's what he decided, I'm just going to go for this next property and just going to bid for it, right? So this was what happened. Ralph won this particular property. If you can see here, it's a horrendous property, right? For $8,000. He actually won this for $8,000. And it turns out when he came down to the property, he realized this property was not what it looked like in the Google image at all. Why? Because Google image can sometimes be 2 years or 3 years backdated. And this particular property is all, you can see, it was actually a crack house, which means some druggies have been using this space, and they probably burned down the place. And this house is in no way to make money for him. Because if he were to do anything with this property, he'll need to do a lot of work. He'll need to rebuild the property with $10,000. After spending $8,000 with $2,000 what he had left, there's nothing that he can do. So what was the #1 mistake that he did was, he bought a property without research. Okay, and that is really critical. And this is something that he has learned a lot. And this is something that we have actually built upon as a company in Noble Sky International, research being our #1 priority when it comes to buying properties. So you guys get it? You buy properties using emotions, you'll end up with this type of outcomes, this type of mistakes, where you can actually end up with this property. So what, in the end, of course, Ralph did was to actually sell out the property to just a plot of land to cover his losses, and that was it. Okay, but that didn't deter him from pursuing investing in US real estate, and this is what he did next. He actually looked up mentors. He went up to the US, looked up for mentors that he can actually learn from. So these are actually mentors currently who are actually also giving advice to us now. And these are John and Laura Holbrook. They're a couple, a retired couple in the US, and they actually own hundreds of properties, and they also own a huge ranch in the US. And they are, in fact, right now, Ralph has been there just, I think, 2 weeks ago. Rauf and I are still in the US right now. And they also sought out other mentors like Ray and George Dias. So it's a pair of brothers who specialize in hotels and commercial building, and also actually in repairs. So Ray Dias is actually one of our strategic partners in the US right now, and he's helping us a lot with the rehab works on the ground. And we also have Charles and Lena Self, they are owners of the PIP group. So these are people who do lots of real estate deals on a yearly basis, and they specialize in tax liens. If any of you have heard about tax liens, they are specialists in it. And this if that's something you're interested in, we can actually talk to Charles and Lena for you, excuse me. So having had all of these mentors, Rauf decided, okay, I now understand more from my own experience together with what these mentors can actually show me and guide me with. So what we did was we flew them the mentors in the year 2018 into Bali. Okay, and we invited our community of investors, about 50 of them here, as you can see in the pictures. They were from Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. I think some of them were from Australia as well, New Zealand. So they joined us to learn directly from the mentors that we have shared with you earlier. And this is what we're actually doing as well. It's not just about investing, we're actually building a community where we have a common goal, investing in US real estate, and we are all foreigners, right? So that's the fun part about it. Okay, so what do we learn through all of this, through all of Rauf's experience, is that first and foremost, you need to take note of research. So before you buy into any properties, and this applies across the board, whether it's in the US or in your own country, you need to do research before you buy into any property as well, all right? Next point, the ugliest house on a pretty street beats prettiest house on an ugly street. And what this basically means is, if you can have a house in a place where it's very popular, it may be ugly, it's okay, you can always do up the house, renovate, make it look good, and people will still want to buy. On the contrary, is if you have a place, a street, or a neighborhood where nobody wants to stay in, even if your house is pretty and nice, nobody will want to buy. So for investment purposes, you know that it's okay to buy an ugly house, but as long as it's located in a place where people want to buy, you can actually, do some works and still make money from that, right? Watch all expenses. So this is the next lesson. And this is what we've shared with you as well. So what Rauf did in his experience then in 2014 was to really not watch his expenses. He's been spending a lot. So money that was actually meant to be set aside for investment, he spent a lot more on his travels, on the lodging and all the food and things like that. So this forms part of your ROI, right? So if you have money and you already spent it on other expenses, your ROI decreases. So you need to take note of your expenses. And this, the last important part, is the right team and mentor. You need to have people who can support you, who can help you grow the business, as well as mentors, people who have been there, who's already succeeded to share with you and guide you how to get to the right place. Okay, so we are hoping today that through our experience of 7 years by now, that we can actually be one of your mentors. We can actually share with you how you can actually do this as well successfully in the US, all right? So here's a summary of what Noble Sky International is all about. We really are a real estate investment facilitation company. We are not fund managers. We don't have, we're not real estate agents where we have properties to sell to you. We facilitate the whole process of buying properties in the US, investing in the US. And we do that by acquiring real estate through different acquisition points. In this case, it would be auctions. You've seen direct sellers, wholesalers. We are headquartered in Singapore. You can see this is our registration number under Noble Sky Institute Private Limited. And we also have a US setup in, I think this is in South Carolina, in North Noble Sky Core LLC, registered there, right? So our US team is where we get involved in the groundworks. That's where we actually do a lot of the rehab works and things like that, right? So you can look us up as well on the net. This is all about Noble Sky International, right? So before COVID, this is how we've approached the market, right? We have a very good solution helping people to buy properties in the US, right? And how we've been able to do this is actually by running workshops in person in various places. So we have actually been in these markets in Singapore, of course, our home ground. We've also been to Jakarta, Jakarta being one of the biggest markets, and we love going to Jakarta. Some of you from Indonesia over here, we are missing Indonesia as well. So we have a lot of investors coming in from Jakarta, also from Indonesia. We've also been to other parts in Surabaya and Bandung. So we've been there in person, running workshops, sharing with people exactly what we're doing tonight. Of course, in a workshop, we can sometimes run it for a full day or 2 days. but of course tonight is a compressed version. As we've also been to Malaysia, to various parts, Penang, Sabah, Sarawak, KL, JB. So to the Malaysians, maybe you might recognize some of your friends over there, right? We've also been to Vietnam, and Vietnam, it was interesting because when we go to Vietnam, the people don't really speak English. The crowd somehow were not exactly English speaking. So it's very interesting, right? But we could still get the point across. We still had investors who came on board from Vietnam because the solution that we offered to them was still very, very attractive. And they still understood the fact that they can buy and invest in properties in the US and gain a lot better returns in their local market, right? So of course we had to use interpreters in Vietnam to help us get the message across. Same thing for Cambodia and Thailand. Same thing, we don't speak the same language, but we had interpreters to help us get the message across. So we've got investors from Cambodia as well, and also from Thailand. So these are various parts of Asia. So it's been very interesting. At this stage, I want to share with you a little bit about what one of our clients, this is one of our longest clients right now since 2018, what he has to share, what he has to say about Noble Sky. Right? Take a listen.
I'm Richard Janey. I am an owner of an agency back in Singapore, a real estate agency. I lived in Singapore for 40 years, always wanted to get involved in the US real estate, but I didn't know how. So when I met Rauf back in Singapore, he gave me the skeleton or the outline of how to do it. But I think when we came out to Bali, then I met all his counterparts in the US. And it was a very straightforward, open sharing session. So I think it answered a lot of questions which I had in my mind, and it gave us a lot of confidence. We now know exactly who we're going to deal with in the US, and we have a lot more confidence and knowledge now. So if you want to invest in the US, this is the place to go to.
All right, thank you, Mr. Richard Janey. So same as what he had to say, I hope you guys have questions about investing in US real estate. Tonight is the night. It's the time for you to actually ask us any questions that you may have. You can, as I go along this presentation, go ahead and type in your questions. We'll address them either live on the spot or at the end of the webinar, right? Okay, so let's move on. So here's a little bit about how Mr. Richard Janey has been involved in US real estate. So this is how he got started. He's actually a KO of a real estate agency in Singapore. He started off with buying 4 properties in Orange County, New York, using Noble Sky services. Okay, this is what he did, right? He put in his own capital of $45,000. He was part of a group capital contribution, which means he bought with other investors and raised a total amount of $278,000. But these 4 properties you can see here has a market value of $760,000. So what this means was, just by buying these 4 properties with a total amount of only $278,000, his portfolio value grew by 273%. You guys get how that is calculated, right? So basically, we bought it at such a low price, but these properties, if they were to be sold to the market, once they've been repaired and all that, of course, they would be earning this portfolio 273%. In portfolio value growth. You guys get what I mean, right? This is what we mean by you make money when you buy and not when you sell. So the moment he bought into this portfolio, he's already made this amount of growth, right? So I hope you guys understand what this means, right? So here's a bit more about what we have done for our clients. In fact, these numbers need a bit more adjustments because we've been acquiring a bit more properties in the past month. Okay, so we've acquired 60, I think by now 63 to 65 properties for our clients, and these were assets that were purchased under $3.75 million, and this represented only about 30% of the market value, because spending $3.75 million to purchase these 60 plus properties, but these properties has a market value of $12.5 million. You guys get what I mean, right? So this is how we buy properties for our clients in US real estate, but they are all foreigners like yourselves. They are not residing in the US, and they utilize our services to buy properties in there. Okay, who's excited by these numbers? Okay, let me know. Give me a thumbs up or type number 1, or let's change it up. We type number 1. Okay, type number 1 in the chat if you are excited looking at these numbers. Right, Doris. Anyone else thinks these numbers look good? Pay only 30%. Pay willing. Haziq, thank you, Doris. Anyone else? Siu Ping Chan, thank you. Daisy. All right. So I hope you guys are excited, because if you're not excited about these numbers, you may not be in the right place, right? Because these are really great numbers, in my opinion. When I came in 2018 as an investor myself, and I saw the possibility of buying properties at such a low price, and then my ability to make money from US real estate, I was so excited. I was like, man, I could never achieve this in Singapore, in my own market, because that's just exactly not how we buy in Singapore, right? Or even in Malaysia and Indonesia, right? So this is what I'm going to be sharing with you. Okay, so a lot of you are coming into webinars, you're so used to coming to webinars, and then you'll be thinking like, okay, this guy is going to sell me a workshop or a mastermind or some kind of coaching. This is something that we don't do at all, right? But I'm going to share with you what we're going to be sharing with you at the end of this session, right? At the end of this webinar, this is what we're going to be offering to you. We're going to give you what we call the Sky Invest service, an opportunity for you to get yourself 100% fully owned and done for you real estate business, okay? And this has a value of $37,180. PS, at the bottom, we do not offer any workshops, mastermind, or coaching. Why? Because we don't believe in giving you more and more information after tonight, and then giving you, one day workshop, one day mastermind, some coaching and things like that, so that you can actually, we charge you those amount of money so that you can in the end do it on your own. Because we believe that if you want to do real estate in the US, right, you will need the experts, in this case, Noble Sky Services, for us to actually help you get there, right? So who's excited about owning your own 100% real estate business in the US? Okay, type in the chat 1. Let me know that this is something that you are actually interested in. I know right now you may not be thinking about if this is something you're going to commit to or not, doesn't matter, but this is something that you actually think that it's going to make sense, because in my opinion, if I was going to be investing in the US, I wouldn't be able to do it on my own, for sure, right? Because I stay in Singapore and then properties are in the US. So when I heard that there is something that I can own my own business over there, my own real estate portfolio, I was excited. Okay, so I hope this is something you're going to be looking forward to, right? So before we get there, again, this is a summary. I hope you're here because you have already have money set aside for your investments. You're looking for high-performing real estate investment models. This is what we're going to be sharing with you, how it's going to be performing better than your local markets, and how you can actually use this strategy to own multiple properties in the US. Right, you guys ready? Okay, let's take a look at what's going on in the market right now. Has COVID disappeared? No. Has everything stabilized? No. Are we able to travel freely? No. So is it really a good time to buy properties in the US? I don't know. So I'm going to be sharing with you how that's going to work out, whether this makes sense for you, right? You're going to find out the answers yourself. Okay, but the reality is this: with every crisis comes opportunities. If you guys are here who are already investors, I'm sure you will know that a lot of people actually made money in the past 1 year through the thick or the peak of COVID, and people are still making lots and tons of money, right? Because they actually position themselves right. And you're going to be discovering later how the US real estate has actually grown a whole lot in the past 1.5 years as well, right? It's nothing to do with COVID, but it so happened to coincide with COVID. And right now is a really good time to be in the US, right? So let's take a look. If you are looking at other investment models right now, is property really something that you want to look at? Firstly, you got to look at returns, okay? Whether high risk is equals to high returns is what we are so used to, right? But you're going to be able to realize that if you deal with US real estate, it's actually the opposite. Right, you can actually have an environment where you can be in a low risk environment and yet you can still get high returns. Right, this is really exciting for me. Stock markets, if that's where you're in it, nothing wrong with the stock market for sure, but it's a lot more volatile. You guys know that this is something that requires how do I put it? Patience, requires a lot of faith. If you're in stock market for the long term, basically I say, but if you are the type who can't bear short-term downsides of the market, then you're probably going to get heart attack, right? So this is something that you got to consider for yourself what type of investment you're going to look at. So other investment options, one thing you usually can't leverage, and when you do leverage in, say, some kind of trading, usually that may not be, it's very risky. It's when it comes to margin calls and things like that, and you're in a loss position, that's really bad, right? And a lot of, or rather you do not have control in the marketplace, okay, as compared to property, to real estate, right? So this is why we just make a little bit of comparison for you to understand whether you should actually decide on real estate or not. Okay, and the reality is a lot of people who actually made their money in stocks, in the stock market or where else, they like to put their money in a safe place in real estate eventually, right? And I think you're very familiar with that. Okay, some facts about local real estate investing, and the 3 flags you can see here: Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Currently, right now, these are the markets where we are actually serving really closely. So that's why you can see a lot of Malaysians, Singaporeans, also Indonesian in this crowd tonight. So, firstly, real estate in this locality is very inaccessible and debt focused, which means because the properties are so expensive, and most of the time you end up having to take up a loan. So that is, you need to have debt, and that may not be the best idea when it comes to investing. Of course, this is arguable, but we're going to look at those options later. All right, few discounted options. So I know most people buy off the market. In your local market, you buy off the market or you buy direct from developers, and you usually buy at market price. If you get maybe some kind of discounts from the developers, good for you, but usually maybe it's about 10% up that point. Not very, very exciting kind of discounts that you can get in the US, right? Limited inventories depending on places where there's a lot of, remember, ugly property in a pretty street. So in pretty streets in my country, and probably in Malaysia and Indonesia as well, pretty streets are very limited. So which means houses over there are few and far in between as well, and it becomes very expensive when you want to buy properties in these areas. Outside of these areas where it's not so popular, where nobody really wants to live, you can have plenty of inventory, but nobody wants to buy. So it may not be the best investment option. So we're going to see the contrast in the US, right? So low returns, we're going to be giving you some case studies on what the returns look like. Duties payable, this is especially true in Singapore, where if you buy a second property or third property, just second property onwards, you're going to be paying a lot of legal fees, stamp duties, all these ABSDs that come into play. It makes that investment become a lot less attractive, a lot more expensive. You lose a lot more money paying for expenses rather than for the property itself, right? So it's how it's going to affect your investments. Okay, so title ownership in most countries, if I were to be a foreigner and I want to buy properties in Indonesia or Malaysia, it won't be easy for me to own land, for example, or to even get a title ownership of these properties because I'm a foreigner, right? So this is how we're going to contrast the situation in the US. When I run to you the case studies in a while, okay? So, of course, it makes sense at this stage for us to make comparisons, right? So, since I've mentioned about the 3 countries, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, let's take a look at what it looks like typically buying a property in Indonesia. Okay, this is a property in Jakarta, Taman Anggrek, and this is in Jakarta's, I think this Jakarta Central is very near Pullman Hotel, where we always go in Jakarta to run our workshops in Pullman Central. So this Taman Anggrek, as you can see in the picture, is just across the road from the hotel, and we have stayed there ourselves. The whole team has stayed there, and we love this place. But if you were to buy that property over there and be the landlord, this is what the numbers are going to look like. Okay, if you want to buy a unit in Taman Anggrek, it's going to cost you about US $181,000. Okay, not too bad. Capital layout is about 54,300. Why? This is because this about represents about 30%. You got to pay 30% down payment to buy this property, right? And the rest, probably, if you take up a loan, right, you have to pay 70% of the loan. You're going to pay about $1,500 a month. Let's take a look. So we asked, we looked up the numbers for Jakarta and Taman Anggrek, and the rental will yield about $500 a month. Okay, so this will give you, understand, if you're going to collect $500 a month and then pay the bank $1,500 a month for your loan, let me know, does this equates to positive or negative cash flow? Positive or negative? Let me know in the chat. Let's see if you can catch the picture. Is this positive or negative? Okay, King Hyong said negative. Jose Miller said negative. Right, that's right. Z says negative. Linda says dash, and I believe that means negative. Yeah, that's right. So, and yet this is something that we accept readily. You know, people say, okay, I don't mind. I pay back $1,500 to the bank, but I still earn $500 a month. So actually, how do you really earn from this particular scenario? Is it by selling off the property later for appreciation? You make capital gains. If that's the case, then you know, it is a very long wait, right, for you to actually break even or even to sell later. So it gives you about 3.31% if you don't take into account paying off the monthly rentals. Okay. Let's take a look at Verve Suites at Mont Kiara. So Mont Kiara is an area in Malaysia for sure. It's very up and coming. I know you guys are Malaysians here will probably agree. We've also stayed in Verve Suites. The team, when we go up to Malaysia to run workshops in KL, we actually stay a little bit inverse suites. And if you were to buy a unit here to be a landlord, you have to pay US $198,000. I'm not sure whether the market has adjusted right now, whether it's cheaper or more expensive by now, but this was the price then when we did the research. And in order to buy this property, you need to pay 30%. Again, you pay about $59,400 is what you pay upfront. The rest of it, you take up a monthly loan. And a loan that you pay, maybe 20, 30 years of loan, you pay $750 to the bank, okay? And the rental here is a bit more attractive. It can give you $801 a month, okay? And it's going to give you about 4.85% gross yield if you do not take into consideration the loan repayments and all the monthly maintenance. Okay, so you earn $801, but you need to pay to the bank $750. Is this very exciting? I'm not sure if these are very exciting numbers. Yeah, break even there, about King Yong. So break even. But the numbers in this case is not very exciting because you really want to look at positive cash flow, right? This is what you want to consider. So let's take a look at my dear country in Singapore. And this was a condo unit in City Lights at Lavender. So you can realize that all of these are similar configuration, right? 2 beds, 1 bath, that configuration. If you were to buy a unit here in Singapore, it's going to cost you about $857,000 US, right? So this is a lot more expensive. Condos in Singapore is a lot more expensive. And just to buy this property, you have to get a capital layer of $528,000. Okay, if you're wondering why $528,000 is because if I were to be a Singaporean, yeah, I am a Singaporean. If I'm a Singaporean, I'm buying this for investments, which means this is my second property onwards. I cannot take up a high loan. The bank is only going to give me, because of government policies, they're not going to give me 80% loans, 90% loans. They're only going to give me maybe about 40% to 60% at max of loans, right? So I have to come up with more than $500,000 just for the down payment, and then the rest of it I take up a loan, which I need to pay $1,700 a month, and this gives me better rental. So you take up, you have I will earn $2,160 monthly, but I pay the bank $1,700. So this looks better, right? Looks better, but think about it. Before I can even earn this $2,160 less $1,700, which is about $500 or about $400. Before I can earn that $400, I need to come up with $528,000. I'm not so sure how many of you think that makes sense. Personally, most people in Singapore wouldn't have that much cash to buy properties, a second property for investment. So Singaporeans lose out. Yeah, that's true, King Yong. So upfront is too heavy, really. So that is really the case when I was in 2018, when I became an investor in US real estate myself. I had some money saved up, definitely not anywhere close to $528,000, but I had some money saved up and I realized that where can I put this money in real estate that's going to give me great returns? And I was so grateful that I actually discovered Noble Sky and how we bought real estate in the US. Right, so looking at this example, this is what you're going to get in Singapore, 2.71% gross yield. Let's take a look at how we buy this in the US, right? So from the 3 examples you've seen earlier, this is the traditional way of how we buy real estate, right? So pay attention to this graph for a bit, okay? You can see how we buy properties traditionally. Maybe you pay about 30% upfront in terms of deposits. Maybe you can get a 10% discount from the developer, for example, and then the rest of it, about 60% is in terms of loans. Now, how do you make money from here? You can see that actually when you, in terms of rental, you don't make that much money, right? So you really make money when the property appreciates and you sell, then you get a capital gain, right? Now shift your attention to the graph on the right, our way of buying properties in the US. Let me know in the chat, what is missing here? What can you see that is missing in the graph on the right? Anyone? I hope you're paying attention. What is missing on the graph on the right? Type in the chat. What do you think is missing? Bank loan. Linda says bank loan. Anything else missing? Jose says bank loan. Very good. All right, so you guys are very observant. Very good. So bank loan is what is missing because firstly, in the US, how we buy properties over there, we pay cash upfront, and the rest of it, the light blue portion is what you're looking at, is actually potential discounts, the discount that we can get from the market, which means we only end up paying about 30% of the market value, and that's it. If you understand this model, if you only pay about 30%, do you actually have to wait 5 years to make money? For example, for capital appreciation? Yes or no? Do you have to wait 5 years for capital appreciation to make money in this second model? No, right? Yes, Inha, you got it right. You're fast, very good. So Daisy as well, you said no. Right, so this is how we make money on the buy, not on the sell. Right, thanks, Jose. So this is what it looks like in the US. So the case study of how a property in the US looks like. So we've compared the three examples in Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. This is an actual property owned by one of our clients. In the US, this is what the property looks like. Okay, let's look at the numbers. So this has a market value of $145,000. Okay, it was acquired, paid by cash at only $56,400. We have to put in some rehab work, so which means properties that we buy in order for it to earn money, for people to stay in, be tenanted and all that, we need to put in some rehab works, make it look good and all that. And then with all other miscellaneous expenses, admin, we had to spend a total of $86,400. Is this an acceptable amount? $86,400 to buy into a property? Yes. But understand the equity gain by buying this property is $58,600. That's simply you take $145K, which is the market value, you less off $86,400, which is what we spent to acquire the whole property, and with all the rehabbing, we earn $58,600 immediately without having to wait 2, 4, 5 years for capital appreciation. And we put this property up for rental, and this is a property that is being tenanted and is paying, the tenant is paying $1,000 a month, okay, and this gives you about $12,000 a year. So look at the returns. The rental ROI for this property is 13.89%. So understand there's no bank loan, right? So there's no bank loan. There's no, the $1,000 that is being paid by the tenant gets kept fully. Of course, there's some minor expenses. Maybe you need to mow the lawn. You need to pay for minor maintenance expenses and things like that. But generally, the amount of money, $1,000 that's being paid by the tenant gets kept in full. There's no bank loan to be paid. You guys understand this picture? Okay, how many of you think 13.89% is more exciting than 2.71 in Singapore, 4.85 in Malaysia, and 3.31 in Indonesia? How many of you like 13.89? Type in 13.89 in the chat for me so I know you guys think this is a better model. Okay. Okay. Let me know who thinks 13.89 is better. Right, Jose, yes, 13.89. Thank you guys for participating. So 13.89 is definitely a number which to me makes a lot more sense, which means if I want to put my money to an investment in real estate, I want to be a landlord, I want to be earning this double-digit kind of ROI that makes a lot more sense for my money, right? So which means my same money that I put in Singapore, or in this case in the US, is working a lot harder when I put it in the US, right? So this is the reasons why we choose US real estate. So if you've seen one example, I'm going to be sharing with you the other reasons why we look at US real estate, right? Firstly, let's talk about the market size and abundance of inventories. So in the US, I'm not sure if any of you know this, the market or the value of all properties in the US is about $36 trillion, okay? And that is with, I think, 16 zeros to the back of 36. So $36 trillion worth of real estate. And $36 trillion is bigger than a few countries' GDP combined. So I hope you guys understand that. So there's a lot of inventories in the US. As an investor, you can choose, right? So you don't have to buy bad properties. You can really be choosy, look at the type of properties that's going to make you the best kind of returns, right? Point number two, they are a lot more affordable than local markets. If you've already seen the examples, with the same amount, $86,400 for just now, for example, buying into that property in the rental in Jacksonville, Florida, that was all that was required. There was no loans involved. Okay, so that was all that was required to buy into that property, and then you can actually start to put it up for rental, and you earn your returns from that. Okay, ease of acquisition. This was really the deal maker for me. I was wondering then when I spoke to Ralph in 2018, how do I buy a property when I'm in Singapore and the property is so far away? How are you gonna help me make sure my papers, legal papers, and everything is done up so that I'm really an owner of a property in the US? I'm sure this is something that you'll be thinking about, right? I want to buy properties in the US. How do I know that I really own this? So it was so easy when Ralph showed me how it can actually be done, everything over the net. I did not have to travel to the US at all when I bought into my investment properties, and I signed all of the papers online. So the process I'm going to be sharing with you later. Land ownership. This is so amazing. So land in the US, when you buy into a property, like the example earlier, you saw right, one house seated on the land. When you buy a property in the US, you do not buy only that particular house. You actually are the owner. You're titled to the whole land plot itself. Just get it? It doesn't matter if you're a foreigner, okay? That whole land plot belongs to you as well. Okay, so which means if there was gold or if there was oil discovered under that plot of land actually belongs to you. Okay, so how awesome is that? I thought that was really amazing, and that, wow, I can actually tell people that I actually own land in the US, right? So that's amazing. Amazingly easy. It was just crazy. So price to value ratio. So again, with the same amount of money, with $1 spent in Singapore, Malaysia, or Indonesia in terms of buying properties, versus that same $1 spent in the US is going to give you a lot more value and a lot more returns. Okay, let's discover how this is going to work out for you. Okay, so question is this the best time to buy, to invest in US properties? Just take a look at this. People are saying, currently home prices are rising faster than in anywhere else for the past, I think, the history of the US. Currently, the home prices are increasing at a rate that is so fast that people are afraid that it might be a bubble and things like that. But actually, the reality is, the beautiful part about the situation right now is because it's not a bubble, because it's actually fundamentals. It's about demand and supply. So what's going on in the US is, due to the subprime crisis back in 2008, 2009, developers actually slowed down on developing additional properties. So they were being more cautious. So fewer properties got out in the market. But then what they're seeing is, as of just about 2 years ago, right? There's a lot more people, in terms of demographics, a lot of people who are actually entering the home buying age, and that are actually the millennial group. So they enter the age of 31, most of them start wanting to buy a house, and they're realizing that the number of people who want to buy houses versus the available inventories in the market, there's a shortage of supply, right? So this is actually what's driving the property prices up. So if you were an owner of property in the US, now is a really good time, right? And that whole idea is being coupled with this whole scenario of right now, because the Feds wanted to ensure that people will continue to be able to afford houses. At that time of COVID, especially, they lowered interest rate to its lowest point in history, right? And currently, of course, this is being reviewed, but we are still looking at extremely low interest rates. So people are still using that opportunity to use credits. So US citizens are using this opportunity right now to buy into properties in the US, right? Rates could last for years, may or may not be. Right now they're reviewing it, but this is a graph which I really want to bring your attention to. Okay, so this graph tracks, it's called the Case-Shiller Price Index. It tracks property prices over the years. So we are looking at a graph that is tracking from January 2000 to January 2020. So this is a 20-year span. All right, so you can take a look at this graph. So a lot of people will ask us this question. All right, I see US real estate is very interesting, but I want to buy only at the lowest point in the market. Okay, so imagine right now, if you are here on the star in the year January 06, if you are at this point in time and you had, say, I got $100,000 in January 2006, and I want to invest in real estate. But tell me only when is the lowest point in time in the market, then I will actually deploy my $100,000 to buy properties. So when was the lowest point according to this graph? It was actually January in the year 2012, which was 6 years later. So imagine $100,000 seated in your bank for 6 years. What will that happen? What will happen then to your $100,000? You realize for 6 years, for you to wait for the market to go down, your $100,000 has lost opportunity. Right? You would have, the last 6 years would have actually been able to buy and grow that $100,000 instead of it staying in your bank account, right? But the problem is nobody has a crystal ball, and nobody would know and predict that in 6 years' time was when the lowest market, lowest price point going to be in the market, right? So what is the solution to this? Is for you to always buy below the line. And in this case, in our case, is how we show you, right? Whenever you want to buy properties at all, being in your country or anywhere else, and especially in the case of US, you always buy as low as possible so that you can actually, you don't have to wait for the lowest point in the market. You guys get it? When you buy it below the line, which is below the median, you can already make your money from there. And at the same time, even if you were to hold that property, you actually have a very comfortable buffer for market movements. And you guys get the idea here. So don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait, especially when you're paying only 20 to 30% of the market value. You guys get it? So let's go into how we buy properties at 20 to 30% of the market value, right? So which means there's an opportunity to buy properties in the market in the US at 70 to 80% of the market value. You guys ready? Type for me yes, or give me a thumbs up so I know you guys are ready for me to share with you how we're going to buy properties at 70 to 80%. Ready? Ready? Yes? Anyone else? Yes, I missed your chat. Okay. Anyone else? Give me a thumbs up. Right. Thanks. So I got your permission to go. let's go into how you buy properties at 70 to 80%. This is got to do with the basic principle of property taxes in the US. Okay, so this is the property tax policies in the US is unique, and this is how it works. All right, anywhere in the world, property owners will pay property taxes. That's right. That's something we're clear about. But why do they require property taxes? And especially in the US, property taxes form a large part of the government's income for the purpose of paying money to public services. Okay, you can see the road works, to pay hospitals, to pay schools, to pay firemen. Without property taxes, the government will have lesser money to pay for all of this. So it cannot be the case where, for example, in this case, a property owner is unable to pay property tax for 1 year, right? So the realities on the ground is this: there will never be a time in place where 100% of property owners are able to pay their property taxes, right? So there will always be reasons, mainly due to death, maybe due to divorce, maybe due to losing their jobs. So people are, when they're unable to pay for the property taxes, it becomes a problem, right? So it becomes a problem because now the public services will have lesser funds to be paid, right? So you guys get it? So what is the solution to that? So let's take a look at what the US government does. So this is being governed at the county level. So at a county level, which means that the US has 50 states, and each state has little counties, which means like you can imagine smaller boundary lines where they take care of their own areas, their own counties. So county governments will facilitate, will administrate the property taxes in their own counties. So in this case, the county is looking at this particular owner, right? In year one, he's unable to pay $2,000 worth of property tax. So they will send a reminder and say, hey, you are unable to pay. Come on, go ahead and pay. And came in the end of year two, the same owner is still unable to pay. What will the county government do? Well, he's kind enough to send a third reminder saying that, hey, look, now on year three, you're still unable to pay another $2,000. So at this stage, this particular owner is unable to pay how much in total? $6,000, right, in property taxes. That is a problem. You multiply this by multiple property owners who are unable to pay $6,000, it becomes a big problem for the county to fund public services. You guys get it? So what the government does to solve this problem is this: putting in all of the property taxes that are unpaid together with all the penalties that's actually involved, the government will actually foreclose on that property. So what that means is this: after telling this property owner, hey, look, for 3 years, you're unable to pay your property taxes. Now we're going to foreclose on your property, which means this government is now going to take away this house from the owner who owns $10,000 in total of taxes and penalties. But this property has a market value of $180,000. Okay, what will the government do next? The government will then set up what you call a county auctions. So remember earlier on that Rauf has actually attended, right? So remember, this property has a market value of $180,000. The government now opens up this property for auction, okay? And this opportunity to buy this property is open to anyone in the world. Okay, I repeat, this opportunity to buy these properties at auction is open to anyone in the world, and that includes you, who are right now not sitting in the US, right? It's open to you as well to actually buy properties like this. Okay, so now play along with me. This property, remember, has a market value of $180,000. The government is not going to auction the property at market value. They're only interested in getting the taxes that they have not collected, which is how much? $10,000, right? So I am now the government, play along with me. I'm going to auction this house. It has a market value of $180,000. I'm going to start the bid at $10,000. Anyone wants to bid at $10,000? Type in the chat if you're going for $10,000. Okay, Daisy, Linda, Linda, very quick. 25K. Anyone else? 25K going once. King Kyong, there's already a higher bid. Pei Wee Leng, 28K. And Nora, 28K. You've already been outbidded. 30K to Nora. Anyone else higher than 30K? Doris, you're already outbidded. Linda Baka goes at 40K. Anyone higher going once? Eric Liu, 30.5 is below 40K. You need to bid higher than 40K. 41K, all right. And you have the highest bid right now at 41K. Going once, going twice. All right, Jose Miller goes 50K. All right, so let's just end this auction right now. So it so happens that Jose Miller, thank you so much for your participation. You have actually won. No one else outbidded you, for example. Okay, you've actually won this property for $50,000, but it has a market value of $180,000. So now, congratulations. Can you guys give a clap to Jose Miller for winning this property? How many of you think that winning this property at 50K for $180,000 is a great deal. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up to let me know that if you think this is a great deal. So this is actually how someone, or you in this case, can buy properties in the US paying only about 20 to 30% of the market value. You guys get it? And this is realities on the ground. This is not something that is fictional. This is what we've been doing for our clients all the time. All right. So almost on a monthly basis, we enter into auctions where we help our clients to buy properties like this. Okay. And this is an example I want to show you. You must be thinking like, okay, how then do I participate if I'm in Singapore, if I'm in Malaysia or Indonesia, but the auction is going on in the US? So exactly when I heard about it, when I heard about it, I was really amazed at how this can be done purely online. Okay, I'm just gonna answer Mr. Eric Lee at the moment. You're asking what will happen to the 40K returned to the previous one. Okay, what do you mean by 40K? I don't get you. Maybe you, Eric, you want to clarify what 40K you're referring to? 50 minus 10. Oh, okay. Let's put it this way. So the previous owner owns 10K worth of taxes, right? He's unable to pay. So now he loses ownership of the house already. That's all. He has no more claim to the property, right? So the 50K that's paid to the county will keep that 50K. Whatever it does with the excess of 10K is with their policies. They have to keep account for it. Whatever is in excess, which means the winner earlier was Mr. Jose. He paid 50K to the county now will take care of $50,000. The previous owner no longer has any claims to the house or to the money that was put up on auctions. You guys get it? Okay. So understand that the system would have been fair enough to already give the previous owner enough reminders, enough time, and also in the event where there is a bank loan, for example, right? Okay, so let's say if there was a bank loan, the bank can actually come and step into the picture to pay off for these outstanding taxes if they want to protect their assets. Okay, but if they don't come in and they say that maybe they don't want to, maybe this guy who can't pay for taxes probably also can't pay for the loans. Maybe the banks has their own policies of why they don't step in, right? Mr. King Hyong is asking, does auction properties has much complication? I'm not sure what you mean by complications, but if you mean the state of the properties, well, properties who usually go on auctions usually need some work to be done, right? So we need to put in some rehab works and things like that to make it look good and then sell it for profit. Okay, so bring your attention right now to the video. This is how we participate in auctions online. Okay, you do not need to be in the US in person. In fact, in this particular video, the team, you can see Ralph in the picture, he's actually bidding on behalf of our clients outside of the US, and we were actually then in Manila. This was in I think this was in February, March in Manila in last year, just before COVID. We were there, and we were running these auctions on behalf of our clients. Take a look at the video, right? See how it works.
$35,000 something big.
Yeah, and buy my credit. Okay. Something today.
Come on.
15 seconds. TikTok. 10 seconds. 3, 7.
Come on.
6, 5. Ah, so cute. 5.
Kita minat sama. 355. Macam ni?
Pada ada okey.
36
So kita 6 at 30.
Itu at 36,000.
Dah betul kan? Any baby you at
54%.
please fumble lah, please fumble lah, don't okay lah, okay. Don't go berak. Sorry. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good job. At 12 cents.
Okay, what you guys have just witnessed is an auction buying the property, like exactly what we've done earlier, right? You guys have been putting your bids 30K, 40K, 50K, right? This is what we've been doing online. We didn't have to be in person in the US to actually bid this. And this was really fun, right? You can see it's like buying, it's like going shopping like eBay, making your bids. This is almost like what we can do it with properties in the US, right? So that particular auction was actually a property that we got here in Jacksonville, Florida. You can see in the picture, this was what we won through that particular auctions. And this was one of the investors for this property was Mr. Julius Wijaja from Jakarta. So he had put in his own capital investment of $30,000. At that particular time, it had a market value of $105,000. But right now, after the market has actually gone on a bull run, the property is has a value of maybe $120,000 thereabouts. Right. So we were in Manila bidding for property in the US for a client in Jakarta. So that's the beauty of how the whole thing works. Jose Miller, you're asking about how when you have to pay money to the county. So in an auction, actually you have to pay within 24 hours. So you got to have your funds ready in the US before you actually enter the auctions, right? So of course, we're going to share with you how we're going to facilitate that. Right. So of course, outside of auctions, there are also other ways you can buy properties at great discounts, and they're also from government auctions you've seen earlier, from motivated sellers. And these are a situation where, especially where people need to vacate their house quickly, maybe they got a new job, they need to shift out very quickly, or maybe sometimes they get inherited a house, they just want to sell and liquidate the house and things like that. These are motivated sellers. We also have wholesalers. Wholesalers are very unique in the sense that in the US, these are people who are just the in between. They're not realtors, but they find contracts of property and then they say, okay, this property looks good. I'm going to just make $5,000 to $10,000 when I find a buyer. I'm going to sell to that buyer for at $5,000 or $10,000 more. I'm only interested to earn $5,000 to $10,000. But what I do is I transfer, I connect buyers and sellers through wholesale contracts, right? So there's other ways how we buy properties at great discounts as well, right? So we're now on to secret number 2. How do you own multiple properties using unconventional leverage, which means how we don't use the banks? How have we been buying properties in the US without using the bank loans? Okay, let's take a look at why we talk about this topic in the first place. Right, firstly, conventional leverage. Basically, we're talking about bank loans. Okay, this usually represents higher interest rates for foreigners. So if you think you want to take up a loan in the US, for example, you can, but it's gonna be a lot more expensive for you. Okay, and when you have a bank loan, usually what the problem is, in the event you are unable to pay, the property will always be at risk of foreclosure, which favors the banks, right? So the banks will have the right to foreclose on your property, and then you will lose out on your investment. Okay, so this is something that we do not encourage, especially investors who are doing this for the first time. We do not encourage people getting a bank loan. Instead, we tell them to look at this particular strategy. Instead, we call this unconventional leverage. And how this works basically is you invest with other similar investors. Maybe you and you have friends who are all interested to buy into properties in the US, right? Or with family members, okay? And everybody has an agreed upon amount of money that you want to invest. Maybe somebody has 20K and somebody has 30K. Then you want to share the profits that come up from these properties, right? So what we do is these properties, when the profit is made, it goes back proportionately. And of course, in this kind of setup, you need to have a neutral manager to facilitate the whole thing, to make sure that there's no favors and things like that. Yeah, this is how we've been doing this for our investors. And I want to illustrate this to you, and I need your attention here because it also illustrates the structure that we set up for our clients in the US so that they can buy properties legally in the US. So remember, we're saying that auctions, for example, are open to everyone in the world to buy. But of course, for you to buy, you can just be nobody. You need to be recognized by the US. And this is how we set up a structure for you if you want to buy properties in the US, right? So let's take a look at this example. We have a couple from Singapore, a family from Malaysia, a solo investor from Indonesia, and also we have lots of other profiles of investors from other countries as well, right? So all of these people are interested to buy properties in the US. So this is how we set things up for them. We will set things up for them in the state of Wyoming. Okay, what we do is we set up for them a business entity. So in this case, this Singapore couple has $30,000, and we set up for them what we call, in this case, XYZ LLC in Wyoming State. They have an additional $30,000 to buy into a flipping property. So what you've seen earlier, XYZ LLC is actually for the purpose of rental. XYZ Inc. is for the purpose of flipping properties. And then this Malaysian family has $150,000 to invest. We set up for them QRT LLC. This Indonesian investor, he has more funds. He has $500,000. We set up for him ABC Inc. in Wyoming State. And the other investors, they have 150K, which we set up for them XXYY Inc. and 140K here in XXYY LLC. So them having the money here. So for example, in the Singaporean couple, right, if with $30,000, generally that may not be sufficient to buy into a good investment property. So what will they need to do? They will need to come together to combine their funds to buy into a good property. So this is how it works. So $30,000 comes from the Singapore couple. They combine it together with the other investors in the community with 150K. And then they set up this entity called 123 LLC. Okay, and with a combined capital now they have $180,000 to buy into a flip project in Jacksonville, Florida. Okay, so what is happening here is 123 LLC, as you see in the picture, is what you call the operating entity. So this flip project, this property is going to be titled to 123 LLC. 123 LLC is owned by XYZ in the percentage of 16.67% and owned by XXYY Inc. At a percentage of 83.33%. And this is because of the amount of capital that they put in, right? So when the flip project makes profit, it's sold and then it's made some profit, right? The profit will flow back, the capital and profit will flow back to XYZ and also to the other investors in that same percentage. You guys get it? Okay, let's take a look at another example. So this XYZ LLC, they have another 30,000, right, to go into rental. So $30,000 may not be able to get a nice rental property, so they decided, okay, let's put up our funds together with the other investors. So now we set up an operating entity called 777 LLC, and they have a combined investment funds now of 170,000, for example. They buy into a rental property in Houston, Texas. So again, when the rental property makes rental every month, right? The rental income comes in, it will be paid back to the Singapore couple and the other investors in the percentage of 17.64 and 82.36%. Right? You guys get this picture, right? So the Malaysian family, for example, has $150,000. They're not interested to share with anyone, right? To co-own properties with anyone. They have 150,000 and we'll tell them, okay, 150K is enough for you to buy into a good property, and you can buy a solo rental in Niagara, New York, for example. So for 150K, fully owned by the Malaysian family, any profits and capital will go back to the Malaysian family 100%. You get it? There's no sharing, there's no co-sharing. Similarly, for the Indonesian investor, $500,000, he wants to buy into a more luxurious property. He decided to buy a solo flip project in San Francisco, California, for example, for $500,000. Actually, properties there might cost more than that, but this is just for example. So at $500,000, he bought into this property, being repaired and then sold off for profits. 100% of the profits will flow back to him. Right, so you guys get this, right? So 123 LLC will be registered in Jacksonville, in Florida, in the state of Florida. That's where the property is. So 777 LLC will be registered in Texas. 888 LLC will be registered in New York, and the 456 LLC will be registered in California. So the second level, where what you call the operating entities, will be set up in the state where the properties are. Mr. Eric Liu, yes. To your question, can foreigners set up companies in the US easily? Yes, in fact, it is very easy. This is what we've been doing for our clients very easily. When you set up, it's like registering a company in your own country. It's very similar. You go to the registry in Wyoming State, for example, you do it online. All the documents are actually being sent to them. They get registered very quickly. It's about 5 working days. Usually that can be done. That's about it. Yeah. Okay, so this is the structure of how we buy properties in the US for you. So this is what you'll be involved in. For example, if you decide to buy into a property in the US, this is how your setup looks. It's going to look like. Okay, so secret number 3, how do you 10x your returns? Especially if you're only doing 1 to 3% annually, right? If you are a very safe investor, you decide to put in your savings account or maybe fixed deposits, you may be looking at this kind of amounts. Other people may also be looking at stocks. Okay, stocks are of course very interesting. If I will never say that real estate is the best and everything else is bad. No, you will want to diversify your investments, but if you're looking at the type of returns US real estate can give you versus the rest, you can actually make your own assessments. Right, there's also stocks as crypto. Crypto is very interesting, right? These days a lot of people talk about crypto, but then I can never really understand the ups and downs of crypto, right? So for me, I do not enjoy the risks associated with crypto. But I know, of course, some people make a lot of money there, but then the risk is whether you can sleep peacefully at night, right? Okay, then there's business dividends, that's good, but of course, risk again. Then people compare real estate with REITs. REITs are of course good, but then the type of returns you may be getting may not be as exciting as what you can get in buying the type of properties that we get in the US. Okay, so here are our targeted returns. Whatever that you may have right now, if you're doing better than these numbers, go ahead, keep on with that investment. But these are the type of returns that we're doing. For flipping type of properties, we have a targeted returns for our investors with a minimum of 30%, renting minimum yield of 10% per year, Airbnb 15%. So which means that if you were to get involved in buying properties in the US and you were to utilize Noble Sky's services and we were to buy for you, then we were to identify for you properties in the US and things like that, we will look at these returns for you minimally. Okay, so compare that to what you have. Right, so you guys are familiar with the idea of compounded returns, right? This is something that people talk about a lot. Is there really a difference between 3% and 30% annual growth? Yes or no? Do you guys think there's a difference? Type in the chat. Let me know if you think there's a different yes or no difference. King Hyong says yes, a big yes. Right. Anyone else thinks there's a difference between 3% and 30%? Right, let's take a look at an example, right? Thanks guys for your responses. Let's take a look at the example, right? So these are 4 graphs. I want you to make a guess. Which one is the 3% graph? Is it the orange, blue, green, or red graph? Type in the chat. Which one is the 3% graph? Orange, blue, green, or red? Orange. Good guess. Orange. Anyone else? Linda says orange. Jose says orange. Right. So this is what it looks like, right? So the orange line, if you were, so look at the headline above, if this was a 10-year compounded returns based on 50% capital, 50,000 capital. So let's say today I start out with $50,000 and I put my money into an investment that gives me 3% every year, right? That $50,000 by the end of 10 years will be compounded and would have grown to 67,195.82. That's a good growth, but I'm not sure it's very exciting for you. The blue line is actually a 20% line. With the same $50,000, if you were to put your investment into an investment that gives you 20% every year, and you compound it, that 50,000 will have grown to 309,586.82. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Sure, thank you. Sorry, I have a private message from one of the audience here saying that he needs to leave early. Go ahead. Thank you so much for your attention. We'll be in touch for sure. All right. The green line is actually the 30% line. So imagine your $50,000 you put into a 30% vehicle or 30% investment that gives you 30% every year is going to grow to 689. And just for the fun of it, I did a 45%. I did a 45% line. Okay. So imagine that same $50,000 will grow to 2.054 million in 10 years. So the same $50,000 will grow to 2.05 million. So this is a question of which investment vehicle that you choose for yourself. So why do I even do a 45%? Is this even possible? Right. The reality on the ground is for the past 1 year, in the year 2020, our flips did an average of 45% returns for the investors. Okay, so that's what we were able to achieve. So that's why I just put out this number just for fun. Can we get 45% every year? There's no guarantees for sure, but what I'm saying is that it's a question of which investment vehicle you choose for yourself, considering all the risks and returns. I would go, if I have that same $50,000, I would go to the investment that gives me the best returns for sure. Okay, makes sense, right? So we want to enjoy compounded returns. So put it in a safe place where you can get great returns without that high risk. Okay. So what you have learned so far. Okay. Secret number 1, this is what you've covered. How do you buy real estate from 70 to 80% discount of the market value? I think you guys, I know a lot of you were very excited with this. You participated with me, did the auctions and all that. Thank you so much. Point number 2 was like, how do you own multiple properties in the US by using unconventional leverage? So technically, even without a large amount of capital, you can actually buy into different types of properties. You can buy into flipping, you can buy into rental, you can buy into Airbnb. Actually, you can actually break up your capital and co-invest in multiple different investments, and you get varying returns, right? And you get to diversify and get great returns. Okay, and secret number 3 was what you have learned was how do you 10x your returns? Okay, so looking at real estate, for example, and in US real estate specifically, it's something that you can actually achieve, and especially we're looking at working with Noble Sky, is something that we can help you with those targets. Okay, so are you ready for more? Yes. Okay, let me know if you are ready to get in a bit more information tonight on how you can actually do this for yourself. Okay, I know you've seen all of this. Anyone else interested to see more? Okay, great. So at this stage, this is what I want to give to you. This is nothing is for sale. This is what I want to give to you. So these are actually some resources that we have. 7 simple steps of how you can actually start investing in the US. This is a resource that's written by Ralph himself through his whole 7 years of experience. He's come up with the simple steps that you can actually get started. And this is a resource that we want to give to you. You have 17 research criteria. So remember our number 1 point, most important factor that we actually advise people, you want to buy properties in the US, you got to do research, right? So these are 17 criteria that we utilize for ourselves. Okay, so this is something that you need to look at if you want to buy properties in the US. And on top of that, this is something of very high value. This is only what we give to clients actually, but here we are, because you spend your time here, I'm going to be sharing with you this resource as well. This is actually the done for you property research analysis. We do this research, we break down, we show people exactly one property by one property, what are the numbers, what are the potential selling price, what is the acquisition price, what are your potential returns. So these is what is found in this done for you research and investment analysis, and this is for you, just for attending. But we just need you to do us a favor. If you have found that you have received value from tonight, we are not at the end point yet, right? We're just taking a short break. So if you're thinking right now that you've gotten value and you want to share this out with people, we would like to reward you for that by sharing this, by getting these resources, by simply doing this. Simple. Just share one lesson that you have learned from the webinar so far, okay? And write in Instagram or Facebook, or we can do both. Just write the reason why. So just one lesson. It could be like, tonight I learned how to buy properties at 70% discount from the US. I love it because, why? Go ahead and type that out in Instagram or Facebook. Tag Noble Sky so we know you've done it. Our team later is gonna take a look at who has done this, and you need to put in the hashtag of Noble Sky International and hashtag US Real Estate Secrets. This will help us to spread the word, help you to help us as well, to get more people be more aware of real estate investing in the US and how this is gonna help them achieve more of their financial goals if they actually look at investment vehicles that's gonna give them better numbers. All right, get a screenshot of this. Take a 1 minute maybe, or 30 seconds, just a quick one to do this. My team later is going to be looking at Facebook and Instagram to look at those of you who have attended and have done this particular post on your timeline, and we're going to send to you the resource to download this. All right, by tomorrow we're going to be sending you the links so that you can actually download this. All right, so this is for you free. This has a value worth $197 right now. Okay, so again, this is what you're gonna get. Go ahead and do this. Share out what you have learned tonight, so other people will actually benefit from this as well. All right. So thank you so much for those of you who are doing this. Okay, I'm gonna move on. All right. So remember earlier on, I promised you this how you can actually get started. This is what we're gonna go into, right? So before that, let's take a look at a few more examples of how properties look like in the US and whether it makes sense for you. Okay. So this property in Walden, New York is a property owned by one of our clients, of course, and it's a market value of $236,000. We spent $110,000 in total. We acquired this from the auctions at $42,000. We spent rehab, which means renovation, at $65,000 and all the other miscellaneous expenses. But even at this price of $110,000, we already made an equity gain of 126%, $126,000 just by buying this. And then we sold this property at $215,000, and this gave the investors a return of 95.45% returns. Okay, remember earlier we're talking about 30%, 45%, but there are situations or there are scenarios where you can actually get a higher returns like this. How many of you love the idea of 95.45%? I love this. I wish I was an investor in this. Okay, but I wasn't part of this investment, but I'm so happy for all the investors in here because their money grew by 95.45%. And this didn't have to wait 5 years, they didn't have to wait 10 years, because I think in the span of lesser than 24 months, we were able to get this property off to the market and sold at 95.45%. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you think 95.45 is a good number. Okay, so I know you guys are still listening, and these are actually things that you're actually excited about, right? Okay, great. Thanks for your thumbs up and your celebrations. Let's move on. Let's take a look at what this looks like. So when you buy this property, you can see the title deed. The title deed will be titled to your operating entity. Remember in the example earlier, this will be titled to your entity. In this case, let me see. It's one of the Skies LLC. So you can see this was bought at $42,000 from the auctions. Okay, and how the property looks like on the inside is like this. So when we acquire these properties, I think earlier on one of I can't remember who was asking whether there's any complication. So we don't talk about complication, we talk about the condition of the property. So properties when we bought from auction may not be in the best state. You can see the kitchen is all over the place, the roofing was about to fall down, but it doesn't really matter because we knew upfront how much we needed to spend in terms of renovation works, and we did it up, make it look good. All right, so that we can actually sell it off for profits. So after we've done up everything safe to live, city inspectors will come in and make sure everything is up to code, make sure that it can be sold, right? It's not going to be endangering the next buyer who buys in. So everything looks good already. When we sold it off, we made 95.45% for the investors in this property. Right? You guys get it? You guys like it? Who loves the before and after? I love this before and after. Right, and one of the owners was Mr. Richard Jenny, if you guys remember him from the beginning of the webinar. So he's one of the lucky owners who actually put in $45,000 into this portfolio, which has that property that earned 95.45%. Okay, but he didn't have to put in all of his money. He only put in $45,000 for a start at that time, and he's part of that whole portfolio where he also enjoyed the returns from that particular property. Right, you get it? Okay, so here's a rental case study. We looked at this earlier. This property was in Jacksonville, Florida. We've seen how these numbers looked at $145,000. We had to spend $86,400 in total, but this gave us an immediate equity gain of $58,600. But before we even sold this property, we put it up for rental. It's earning the investor $1,000 a month. So let's say after 5 years of earning $1,000 a month, that is already his income. On top of that, if you were to sell the property, assuming no changes in the market value, for example, he's still going to earn about $58,000 on top of his rental income. You understand? So there's two ways of earning from rental. Okay, so understand when we buy properties, even if it's for rental, we don't buy it at market value, we still buy it at discounts. Right, so this is tax deed, which means we bought it from the auctions and it's titled to your operating entity. And this was what the property looked like. So before it was blue, the property was actually dirty brown. And you can see how it looks like on the inside. It's a mess, for sure it's a mess. You can see there's someone who's trying to climb through the window. That's actually Ralph. So when we got properties like this, the county will say, it's up to you how you enter the property. There's no keys for you. The previous owner didn't give us any keys. It's up to you what you want to do. Okay, so of course, Ralph took the cheapest option, was to actually enter through the windows instead of breaking doors. All right, so that's how we got in. And then properties like this, you need to put in the rehab works before we can get it. We can get the tenant to come in, we did the rehab, and then when we listed it, it looks beautiful. How many of you love this listing pictures? It looks so much nicer, right? Compared to when the acquisition. Give me a thumbs up if you like the fact that we have done a good job in making the property look good. Right? Thanks for the thumbs up. Anyone else thinks this is a good job done? So of course the tenant who's now staying in here is enjoying this better house, almost a brand new house inside, and they're paying $1,000 a month. So it's really worth it for them. Okay, and one of the owners of this property was Mr. Majaldi Lois. He's from Jakarta. I remember him very fondly because the first Jakarta workshop which we did in 2018, Mr. Majaldi was attended the first workshop in Jakarta. So I always remember the first workshop, and he was there and he shared with us his story about how he's being retired and he needed to look at other options to grow his money. You know, he didn't want his money to just run out. So he decided to just test the market then with only $5,000, part of a group contribution of $463,000, which means his whole group contribution put in $463,000 to buy into a few properties. You can see here, we have a total market value of $1.02 million. He put in $5,000, but whatever the properties earned in terms of returns, his $5,000 still grew in that same amount. You guys get it, right? Because it's by proportion. So by now, of course, it's already 3 years in. Mr. Majaldi has reinvested a few times. He's put in a lot more capital as well because he understood how the process works and he trusted the process, and he's been investing more into other investments as well, into other properties. Okay. We also have this is Mr. Kamaruzaman. He's from Singapore. He's been investing with Noble Sky since 2018. This is what he has to say. They're very professional and transparent in their dealings. So in 2020, decided to include property rentals as part of his portfolio. So he said to those investors out there who no worries, as Noble Sky team are very committed to make investments a success. And I will tell you why we want to ensure your investment is a success in a bit. Okay. So I want to share with you a short video. In December or November of 2019, what we did was in 2018, we invited investors to Bali, right? So there was a mastermind get together just for people to have fun. But in 2019, what we did was we did a learning journey. We flew up to Houston, Texas. The whole Noble Sky team was in Houston, Texas, and we invited investors who wanted to join us to see on the ground how we dealt with the properties. Okay, so then in November of 2019, we had about 15 investors coming in from Vietnam, from Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia as well. So they joined us to see how we deal with properties, how we negotiate deals, how we dealt with the rehab and things like that. So this is a short video. I want you to just take a look and see the kind of tours and the type of properties that we brought them around with. Right, you guys see the last house? The last house was a beautiful house, right? So not every property that we go to has to be a rundown property, looks ugly and all that. This last property was so nice, and the owners were motivated sellers. They inherited this house. They wanted to sell it off below market value because they just needed to liquidate, and then I think they inherited, they wanted the cash. So the investors who followed us, they were very excited. They said, my God, this property looks nice. It may not be as cheap as buying it from auctions, but they decided that they wanted to buy these properties anyways. So they were excited. So what we did for them was we ran the numbers and take a look at this property, whether the kind of pricing that the owners were selling for was a good pricing. Firstly, we found that it was good pricing. And the next thing was that this was in an A-grade neighborhood, which we realized has very good demand for Airbnb. Right? So this is what we did for them. Okay, so this particular property, we put them up for Airbnb, and these are the kind of numbers that this property is looking at. Okay, so this property had a market value current year of about $370,000. Okay, and we acquired this property at that time. The owners wanted to sell it off at only $270,000. Of course, we ran the numbers and we thought we were good. We needed to put in only $10,000 worth of furnishings. Understand, this house was in excellent condition. There was no rehab works required at all. So we only needed to buy furnitures to put it up for Airbnb. So furnitures, television, sofa, new beds, things like that. So when you want to buy furnitures for Airbnbs, you don't need to buy brand new, right? Because the moment somebody comes in and sit on the new bed, it will become like secondhand already. So we can buy secondhand properties, for example. This helps to increase the ROI for investors by reducing expenses, right? So the equity gain in this particular property was $85,000. We projected that this property was going to be able to achieve about $45,000 of rental income after 1 year, and that would represent about 15.79%. You guys want to see what kind of numbers this did for Airbnb? So Jose Mila, I'll answer your question in a bit. All right. So this is how it looks like on the inside of the property after we put in all of the furnishings. Looks good enough to put in about 12 to 16 people, 12 to 16 packs in this house. So we could charge, quite a high price per night. And this was what we did when we first listed the property in August of 2020. It got 4,998 in terms of rental income. You can see on the left side is a screenshot of the Airbnb dashboard. Okay, in September of 2020, it got earned 4,801 for the month. In October, 3,768 was slightly lesser. November was 4,796. In December was 4,110. Not bad, right? It's quite consistent. Then in January was 2,377. This happened to coincide with a point in time where US was actually initiating another lockdown. because COVID numbers going up, so people were not traveling anymore within the US. So the numbers dropped for a bit, but then in February, the numbers jumped again when the lockdowns were lifted. It jumped to 7,654. In March, it was 9,394. In April, it was 3,974. I think it was coincided with another peak in COVID, people not traveling. And then in May of 2021 was 10,541. In June, it was 7,230. July was 7,421. And in a span of August 2020 to July 2021, every month we've had Airbnb income. It got a total of 71,064. Remember, we projected for 45,000, but this property actually did so much better at 71,064, and this is about $5,922 a month. Okay, and this is actually about 25.95% returns on an annual basis for the investors. Of course, would you be happy if you're getting 25.95% returns on a monthly basis? You're actually getting your rental income or Airbnb income from this property. Give me a thumbs up if you think this is good. If this is something that you would like to put your money in to an Airbnb property that's giving you rental every month. Yeah, you guys like it, Daisy? Only Daisy likes it. Anyone else likes the idea of this Airbnb? King Hyong, thank you very much. Linda, yes. All right. Jose Miller, very interesting. Yep, it's very interesting, in fact. So which do you prefer? After seeing all of this, do you prefer Airbnb, rental, flipping, or all of the above? Fana, oh yeah, personally, I prefer all of the above myself. And in my own personal portfolio in the US, which I use Noble Sky Services, I have portfolios in all of these different type of investments. So I got Airbnb, rental, flipping, and all of them. So it's something that you can do as well. If you want to diversify, you want to get different type of returns, and you have the capital to deploy, go ahead. You can actually do all of this. Right? King Hyong says flipping. Linda says rental. So all of these are good. No, I wouldn't say one is better than the other. It's all a matter of how fast you have the money to come back to you and what kind of returns you're looking at. All right. So the big question really is, if you know the returns are great, better than Singapore, Malaysia, or Indonesia, the question is, should you attempt this on your own? Right? If you're going to do this on your own, how is it going to work? So this is where I'll share with you the bonus secrets. How do you make everything passive? How do you do this passively without having to do this on your own? Are you guys ready to see how this can work for you? Yes, give me a thumbs up if you think you're ready to go to see the next stage. Anyone, give me a thumbs up so I know you guys are ready for this stage, because this one requires a bit more of your focus. I know it's already 9:44, but I'm gonna make sure I deliver this clearly so you guys can make a decision as to whether this makes sense for you. Right? All right, King Hyong, Doris, thank you very much for your encouragement. I'm gonna go on to share with you what it could cost you if you decide to do this on your own. In fact, this is what it cost Rauf. It cost him more than this because he tried to do this on his own initially, right? So in order to set yourself up in Wyoming, you need to register your business. It's going to cost you about 1,680, okay, to do a corporate formation setup. Once you set that up, you need to cover yourself for at least 2 years of taxation, bookkeeping, and all that. Okay, why? Because let's say you're involved in a flipping project, right? It's going to take about sometime between 1 to 2 years. It depends on a particular property. So you want to make sure you're covered for a period of at least 2 years for the setup that you do in Wyoming. And once you do that, you want to make sure you have corporate compliance, which means everything, your paperwork, they need to submit the filings and things like that to the government in the US. All this needs to be done. It's going to cost you about $1,200. If you want to pay somebody to do your research, analysis, and acquisition, it's going to cost you a lot more than 6,720. We're just giving a ballpark figure here, but it's going to cost you a lot more than that. You're going to actually get people to do all of the research for you, hundreds upon hundreds of properties in the US, for example, for you to go through and then you to select a good one for you, right? It's going to cost you a lot of money. And then let's say after you get the property already, the next thing you need to do is to do rehab or to manage the rental, right? How do you do that if you are in Singapore, like me? Okay, I can't do that on my own, but I love to get the money. I love to get the income. So I need to pay somebody. It's going to cost me money if I were to do all of this. Right? And then see, after I've found somebody to do all of the repair works for me, and then now I need to sell it off for profits. Yay. But I need to, again, get somebody's services to do all of this, right? So I need to pay professional services, all of this. And if this was something I'm doing on my own, I wouldn't trust that whoever for me to just see everything that's online, I probably want to travel there myself. In all of the expenses I will probably incur in a year, probably about $15,000 at least. I'm going to fly in about maybe 5 to 10 times just to take a look at my properties, making sure that everything is in order so that I can make my profits. So this is a lot to take note of, right? It's going to cost you, if you were to put in all of this, it's going to cost you at least $43,700 just if you decide to do this on your own. Okay. Personally, I think $43,700 makes more sense to be put in as my capital in a property rather than paying professional services. You guys get it? All right. So you guys agree? I hope you see the picture. All right. So even if you did have 43.7K, do you have the time? All right. Do you have the time to actually take care of this business? Because when you realize you have 4 or 5 properties in the US, it becomes a business. It's something that you need full-time attention with, right? You can't just not give it any thought at all and thinking that it's going to work out. So most people here in this room, and I believe, actually have a daytime job, have a full-time job. And the fact that you want to invest is so that you can actually have more time without having to do additional work, so that you can actually have more income and enjoy life, right? With your family, if you can travel, you can, pay for nice holidays, pay for a new car and things like that. You don't want to be the one spending the time to actually build this business, right? How about capital? So some people say, okay, I have 43.7K, but most people have limited capital. So you may want to buy into multiple properties, but you only have so much, right? So when you have limited capital, you realize then you are hindered because you cannot grow your portfolio as fast as you want. So it's a matter of time. You gotta wait again. But then again, you don't have time. So it becomes a very vicious cycle, right? And then again, after you have, even if you have time and you have capital, a lot of people decide that they're not going to do this at the end of the day because they have little experience. So remember Raul's story, how he started. He made major mistakes, expensive mistakes, because he didn't have the experience, right? So now through 7 years of doing what we have done, this is where we come in to actually share with you how we can help you eliminate all of these problems, okay, and just basically enjoy the returns from where you are. Okay, you guys get it? Right, so this is how you make everything passive as promised. Okay, this is how you're gonna own your 100% fully owned, done for you real estate business, value at 37,180. This is, we're not gonna give you any workshops, mastermind, or coaching after today. Basically, if you decide that this is for you and you're gonna look at what we can help you to achieve using our Sky Invest services, then you can actually start to enjoy investing in US real estate without all of these other issues we're talking about, right? Let's hear what Miss Serinki from Singapore has to say about using our services, right? Let's take a listen.
Hi, I'm Serene. I used to be a banker dealing with investments, and I handed over more than 100 million worth of funds from my high net worth clients. So I'm actually pretty exposed to all kinds of investments. But from young, actually, I'm also very passionate about investments and always look around for good opportunities. So when I heard about this opportunity from Noble Sky, I felt that it was an interesting idea, the way they did it. So me and my husband decided to invest more than 250,000 into our investments. And I would say that I'm pretty happy so far with what I see. We have some in near Niagara Falls, and some near New York City, I believe, because we participated in a few. And I think there was also a private auction that was conducted for us. So I'm very pleased with the service. And then I think we managed to get some good buys. And I personally went down with the Noble Sky team on the US tour to see how it's actually done. So it was very interesting, and they really followed to what they have said. It's a very disciplined way of buying US properties. So I'm happy with how it's handled. And actually, one of the projects currently is being the property, which I personally saw when I went to the US. It was called Dom Blush. It's actually being rented as an Airbnb property. And that has been giving us decent rental income. Every month we'll be receiving some returns. So I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah. Okay, actually, I went for the course that Sky conducted as well. I mean, they actually show hand and let you know everything that you need to know. I would say actually the whole process is not that easy, but however, Noble Sky, they made it easy for us, and I leave it to them really to handle the rest. They got their CPA, they have their team of people and also they have their own ground team in the US looking out for us. So I guess our investments is well taken care of, and I feel comfortable. Definitely, I feel that they are professional, they are responsible, and if you are looking for some investments or some, like let's say, US properties to diversify your portfolio, I think it's a wise choice to go with Noble Sky. This is my take. Yeah.
All right, I think the PowerPoint disappeared for a bit. All right, so that was Miss Serinti from Singapore. That's what she had her take on working with Noble Sky using our services. So I hope something that you can also enjoy for yourself as well. I'm going to be sharing with you what you're going to get if you utilize the Sky Invest services from Noble Sky. Right. So this is the breakdown of what we do for you. So remember, we're going to help you set up your business entity, holding entity in the US, and this is how it looks like. You can decide to whether you want to do rental, flipping, or you want to do both. Okay, either way, we're going to set you up wherever you are. We're going to set up your holding entity for you, which may be ABC Inc. or ABC LLC. And then we will also set up for you your operating entity where you buy your properties from, maybe in Texas. Right? So this is something that we will do for you easily without you having to do any of this work yourself, for sure. Okay, this is a total value of 1680. This goes into setting up for you, right? And how do you know that you actually successfully set up in the US, right? You can actually go to Wyoming Secretary of State. This is their government website where you can see that your company has been registered. For example, this company is named Blue Fire. They have a couple from Jakarta, Mr. Faizan and the wife Mirawati, you can see here. Right, then you can also see Rauf's name as the president. So Rauf is a president and not the director. So directors are the owners of the companies. President is just an authorized manager in this particular business to do all of the business activities on your behalf. So you guys get it? So Noble Sky's team members will be part of your business registration so that we can have the authority to run the business for you, and you will be in Rauf's name, right? But you will also see your own name registered in Wyoming State. Get it? Okay. And then once you set that up, remember you're going to be buying, selling properties, you're going to be having your profits and things like that. You need to do your taxation and bookkeeping. All right. So in the US, the IRS is a serious business. It's something that you will not want to forego. All right. So we do a lot of, we do all of the IRS tax filing. In fact, we just completed a deadline of 15 October. I think we've had about 200 different entities that we have had to do filing for our investors to make sure that they don't get into trouble with the IRS at all. Because in fact, this is, for example, you can see these are the type of documents that we submit on your behalf to the IRS. And this particular document, for example, for foreign-owned US corporations, if you don't file this on time, you will actually be slapped with a $30,000 fine. Okay, so personally, $30,000 will make more sense to be invested in the property than paying a fine to the government, right? So I would rather you guys make money than paying fines. So we make sure that all of this is done for you on your behalf without you having to worry about the IRS and things like that. Okay, so point two, what I've shared with you already, the taxation bookkeeping services, what we will do for you, everything is already included in the service, right? And now corporate compliance package. So again, if you own businesses in your own country, you realize there will always be other types of filings that you need to do. And especially in the case of where you you have multiple owners, right? Co-owners in the business, for example, you also have co-invest into different properties, you will need to have all of these shareholder agreements. You need to have your corporate bylaws. So all of these need to be drafted and signed by all stakeholders. Okay, and all signatures can be done online without you having to be there physically. Okay, so the shareholder agreement, for example, will show who you are, who are the members involved in this business entity, and who are the buyers, and how much capital each of them put in. Okay, so that makes sense. So no, there will be no conflicts down the road saying that, hey, I thought I put in 10K and you put in 50K, but you know that there's no conflict for anyone else to say otherwise, because all of this will be captured in these documents with your respective signatures. All right. Okay, so all of that done for you. Okay, total value now at 9580. We will then do this. Okay, so once you are set up, Noble Sky does is this is where we do a lot of the work for you. We do research, analysis, and acquisition. So what you see here, for example, is what we will come up with. Okay, we will give you a nice rental analysis or property analysis, whether it's for flipping or rental, we're going to give you this particular breakdown of what the acquisition is going to be like, the target selling price, the profits, the ROI, and things like that. Okay, so this is what we done for you. We put in all of the numbers into a very detailed research sheet. This is something that you as an investor will have access to as well if you so wish. Okay, we'll let you have a look so you know and understand the research that goes behind every property before we even present it to you. Okay, remember we have targets, right? So for example, I think earlier one of you was interested to do flipping. So before we even present to you a flipping project, okay, we would have done all of this research for you ready to ensure that we will meet the minimum 30% target. Let's get it? And we will punch in all of the numbers to ensure again that including, so when we punch in numbers, we will include rehab costs as well upfront. And how do we determine rehab costs? I'm going to share with you a little bit more on that in a bit. Okay. So this is how we first approximate the type of rehab costs, and then after doing all of the paper research, we will actually send someone on the ground, which we call a scout, who works for Noble Sky in the US, to actually have an actual site of the property. So I want you to take a quick listen of what the scout has to say about this particular property on the right that we intended to buy.
We are at 624 Lawton Avenue. This house is vacant. You can tell by the stuff on the side of the road. Whomever tenants were, they're no longer in here. This house does have an old metal roof. So to convert this roof over, you have to go with 3/4 plywood and architectural shingles. So this roof was probably going to be about $6,800 to $7,000. That is stucco with siding. So you're probably looking at another $3,500 on the outside. Rehab on the inside is probably about $30,000. So I'm gonna say this rehab is probably gonna be somewhere around 40, 45. Once again, this is 624 Lawton Ave.
All right, as you just witnessed, we actually send a scout on the ground to have sight of the actual property and give us the major inputs in terms of the rehab work that needs to be done. All right, so he will look at the sites, look at the roofing, look at the overall structure and things like that. He will give us inputs, and then we'll go back to the research sheet and enter his inputs, and then make sure that the numbers, the ROI, will still meet the 30% in this case, for example. Okay, how many of you think that having a scout physically looking at your property that we intend to buy is a lot more safer than just paper research? Type 1 in the chat if you think this is way better than having just paper research and not having sight of the actual property. Right, thank you guys. So, all right, so great. So thank you for typing 1, because I know you're still paying attention, and at the same time that you understand that having a scout on the ground makes a whole lot of difference. That's what we do. We want to ensure we do all the due diligence for our investors before we even present to them a property for them to buy into. Okay, you guys get it? So this is what we do for you as well. Right, so that research, analysis and acquisition, that's what we do. So on top of that, after you buy a property, after we have already presented to you and you say, okay, you're going to get into this property, you need to do the rehab, right? So if you take a look at this property, I'm not sure if you can see it. Okay, the top one on the left and the bottom are the before and after. So you can see the top before and after, and then before and after. So from ugly to nice, ugly to nice. So it's very important that we make it look nice, right? Because we want to sell it at the best price so you can make as much profit as you can. Okay. So this is an example of how the rehab process works in an actual property when we were there in 2019 for this particular property.
Sagging pretty bad. So we're having to bring it back up, get some new piers under it, get it back to level where it's flat across again. We're going to take this wall out, open it up, bring it open so we can kind of run our living room and our kitchen area.
All right, so this is part of a longer video, of course. So I'm not sure how many of you will actually like to travel to the US to do up your own house, to do the rehab on your own properties. I would rather be enjoying my sleep at home and enjoying someone else doing the work for me, so that eventually I can enjoy the returns on this property, right? So the only reason why we can actually get all of these things done is because we have people on the ground. And in our case, specifically, we have strategic partner, who's Ray Dias. I've introduced him earlier on in the webinar. He is actually someone he has 40 years of real estate experience. He has done major deals worth, in this case, $67 million on his own. He's done hotels, he's done houses everywhere around the US. And he's the one who manages the crew on the ground to actually do all of these rehab works for you, right? So if you were to buy a property using our services, Mr. Ray Dias over in the ground will actually be helping you to ensure the works are done well as well, right? So when that is done, the next thing you need to do, if you were involved in rental or Airbnb, again, same thing, you already buy a property, how would you then receive guests if you're doing Airbnb, right? How do you receive your guests coming in? How do you exit them out? How do you clean up the house to prepare for the next guest? How do you refresh the towels and things like that, right? Somebody needs to do the work, right? So you can't be doing it from where you are. So all of this gets done for you. For example, remember the Airbnb that we were showing you earlier? This is how the listing looks like on the Airbnb portal, right? And this property has a very high rating of 4.78%, which is 27 reviews at that point in time. You can see all of them says a very large group. They can come in, they want to come in again, highly recommended. If they visit this place, they will be coming back again, and they have a lot of good things to say about the hosts. So the only reason why they keep coming back and paying a lot of money for the Airbnb so that you can earn your returns is because we have, again, strategic partners like Mr. Chris Modine. In this case, he has 14 years of experience in real estate, and he's the one who manages the team that manages your rentals and Airbnbs, right? So, you know, you've probably stayed in Airbnbs yourself when you go for your holidays. You know, there's people who need to tend to your needs, right? It may not be a hotel, but somebody still needs to tend to your needs. So the only reason why the property can actually continue to get people coming in is because we have very good reviews, and this is made possible because we have partners on the ground who's dealing with all of this for you. Okay, you guys get it? So you don't have to worry about this. This is something that's already included in the Sky Invest service when you get involved in real estate investing in the US, right? So if eventually the property needs to be sold for profit, right? Whether it's rental you want to sell or whether it's flipping you want to sell, you need to do the right things to make sure that the property looks good so you can sell at the best price. Right? So this is what we do with a property right now. Okay, just take a quick look.
Okay, so the main entrance, you're entering the living room. So there you go. This house is almost done, and this is the living room. And over here in the kitchen, we are almost done installing the cooking hood. And this is the other living room with a fireplace. Okay, we've repainted the entire house.
All right, so basically what you're looking at is this house, which was about to be listed for sale. What we have done is we do staging, which means we put in all the nice furnitures so that the prospective buyer, the next buyer who want to buy this house, can see, oh, this is how it's going to look like if I were to stay here. If they want to buy the furnitures, they can go ahead, but most people, they will buy their own furnitures, but this will help to increase the perceived value of this particular property, and people will be able to make good offers for the property. So you guys get it, right? So this is what we do for you as well as an investor through Noble Sky International, right? Okay, so for example, this is what we've done with this particular property earlier. You have seen this property was already done up and everything, and we sold it already. You can see this is the sales agreement. That is, I know it is a little bit small. We were able to sell this property for $165,000. Okay, and this is another property that was sold. This was at 1717 Emerald Valley. So you can see this is owned by Three Sky LLC. So this is the name of the operating entity that owns this property in the US by our investors, and we were able to sell this property. So you can see the price was at $128,000, and there was a backstory behind this. There was a sales. This initial sales agreement was this property was to be sold at $128,000. The buyer could not qualify for a loan in the US. So he was a US citizen and wanted to buy. He couldn't qualify for his own loan, so he had to back out. What we did was we relisted this particular property, and the good news was a new offer came in at a higher price, which was initially was $128,000. The new offer came in at $146,000. So of course, the investors in this property were happy because they got an even better price, which means the ROI from this property was higher. Okay, again, this property, if you've seen this earlier, this property was listed for sale. It was initial offer of $185,000. Okay, And then again, similar scenario, I think this is pretty common. The buyer couldn't qualify for a loan. We relisted, and then a new offer came in at 205,900. This was, you can see the date is 2020, November of 2020. This is somewhere last year, not that long ago. So from 185K, it went up to 205K. And then before that deal could be closed, another offer came in at 215. So remember, we were telling you about how property prices were climbing in the peak of COVID as well, because of more demand and supply. This was exactly what's going on. The moment a property is listed in the market, right now, I think it has tapered down to about an average of about 37 days in the market for it to be sold once a property is listed. So that was fast, and the prices kept going up. And of course, we were happy because the investors were happy because they got to sell this property at an even higher price of 215K. Right, so we do all of this listing for you. You don't need to be in the US or anywhere near for you to be get this property sold and enjoying the returns. Okay, so and this is one other thing which we have for investors as well. If you were to be an investor using our Noble Sky Invest Services, some of our investors, they have 4, 5, 6, 7 properties already in the US. And the question will be like, how do I keep track of everything? How do I keep track of this property? How much is rental is being paid? How much ROI am I getting from this property? What is the status and things like that? This is what we do for you. We actually, every investor that comes in will get access to this online investor portal. We use AppFolio, is the software. This is an industry standard software where you can see what it looks like in the back end of every single one of your properties. I'm going to take you a bit of a walkthrough of how it looks like in the back end, right?
Welcome to the AppFolio Investor Portal. This is a back-end view of an actual client's portfolio. Right, once you're logged in, you can see the dashboard, which will give an oversight of all of your investments. Okay, so you can see here, these are the contributions, and these are where the 3 properties are in this particular portfolio in New York, in Jacksonville, Florida, as well as in Texas. So there's a tab on the left for tax forms. There's nothing here right now. And documents on the left, you can see these are the type of documents that you will be signing with Noble Sky, as well as things like the tax deed. Let's take a look at one of them right now. So this tax deed, as you are seeing right now, is for Burgoyne Drive in Jacksonville, Florida. So you can see that this property now has been titled to your holding entity. All right. So these are all being kept in your AppFolio portal. So distributions will show how much returns have been given to you. So what you're looking at right now is rental returns on these different dates and the amounts for the rental property in this particular portfolio. Right, contributions, what amount of capital that has been contributed for different projects. So take a look at one of them. So this particular project, for example, has a total contribution of 68,000, and you can see there's 100% ownership here. Okay, and there are 3 members in this particular holding entity, so each of them put in different amounts. So they you can see their ownership over there. Right, so this property, this is a picture, and the current market value is about 138,000. So remember, you bought it at 68,000, and it has a current market value of 138,000. Right, so this is again an overview of the returns right now. Okay, so that's about it. This is what you get as an investor, be able to see what it looks like, your portfolio in the back end.
All right, so that's AppFolio, your own portal. So when you come in as an investor, you get access to your portal as well. How many of you like this? The fact that you can have, you can look it through your handphone, access the website, and actually take a look at how your investments are actually doing. You like it? Right, so I think I love this. In fact, this is pretty new, was only launched in July of this year. Noble Sky actually recognized that the more properties that we have for our investors, we needed to invest in an industry standard software so that all of our investors can actually track their investment. So this is what we've done for our investors. Without them having to pay anything additional, we got this in for them, right? So this is what you're going to get if you invest using our Noble Sky services, right? So if all that in, now it brings the value of the Sky Invest service to 37,180, right? So this is the amount of work and value that we're giving to you if you decide to come on board doing US real estate investing, right? So how much is it going to cost you? So 37,000 is the value of work that we do for you. We can easily price this at 37,000 and people will be happy to pay because you don't have to do any of this work yourself. And I think most of you will agree that the value of what you do, probably remember earlier on, you're going to spend about 43,000 if you were to do it yourself, it's probably going to cost more, right? Even if you were to price this at $10,000 today, people will be happy to pay because it solves all of the headaches with having to run their own investments in the US, right? And yet getting all of the returns. $10,000 will be something that people are happy to pay, but today you're not going to be paying $10,000 because although we have everything, every tool and resources to help you, although we are the only, in fact, the only company in Asia to do this, you're not going to be paying $10,000 for this at all. Okay, so remember what it could cost you if you were to do this on your own at 43,780 is what it's going to cost you if you were to do this on your own. But what we do for you, it's not even going to cost you $10,000. In fact, your only investment to you get started and get all of these services done for you is only $5,000. Okay, so is this a fair price for you to pay to get your 100% fully owned business up and running? Yes, thumbs up if you think this is a good amount, that it's a very fair amount for you to get your business running in the US, and then getting all of the things happening, being run for you, so everything is being taken care for you so that you can enjoy your returns from the US. You think this is a good amount? All right, so if you think it's good, let me show you how it's gonna flow, how it's gonna work if you decide to get on board the Sky Invest service. All right, so you got the choose between flipping or rental. So what's the difference between the two? Okay, so flipping is where you get a fat check. It's where you buy a property, you rehab, and then you sell it, right? So this is paid between 15 to 24 months. Current market is about 15 to 24 months. Reason being, there's a shortage of labor. There's multiple, as I was telling you, right? The market in the US right now is very hot. A lot of properties are being developed. So people, the speed of work being done will take longer, but you're still going to get very good returns, at least 30% or more on cash returns. And this is meant for you if you are a bit of a risk taker, you're willing to wait longer to get your money back, right? But if you're interested in rental, it's something that a house that we will buy without having to do a lot of rehab. Our objective for a rental property is to do very light rehab so that we can tenant it out as quickly as possible, maybe in the second or third months. And then you can start to get your rental income every month. And then we're targeting about at least 10% on a yearly basis growth for rental income for you. This especially for those who decide that, okay, I want to start feeling my returns quicker, right? So you can start to look at rental. And then of course there'll be some of you who say, I want to do all of the above. So if you want to do all of the above, you can actually consider this service called Sky Duo. Sky Duo is where you get both a flipping and a rental service together. And the reason why we separate them out is because of taxation purposes. For you to be able to do flip and rental together, you'll need to have two separate entities. So you need to buy into two packages in that sense, okay? 5,000. But if it's not going to cost you like that, I'm going to show you how it works, all right? So this is what you pay, right? If you decide to do flipping, you pay $5,000 to get set up, or you do rental, you pay $5,000 set up. People will ask us, at $5,000 and paying all of these professional services, doing all of these things like that, how does Noble Sky work? How does Noble Sky earn money from this whole deal? Fair question, right? And that's a very fair question. I get asked this all the time. And that's why we want to share with you exactly how this works. When you have already set up your entity in the US, all right, and you decide that, okay, I have this amount of capital to put out, whatever amount of capital that you put in, you will set aside 5% of that capital to cover any running expenses for your business, okay? But where we really earn from this whole deal as a company, Noble Sky International, is this. We do have what we call a performance fee. And this is based on a profit split basis. Okay, let's take a look at the Sky Flip column, right? So this is how it works. After we get you set up, right, and then say once you are done, and then you say, okay, I'm now interested to enter into a flip, and I have $30,000 to invest. So you put in $30,000, we will match you with an investment or property. We'll tell you, okay, look, there's a few properties you can look at. Which one do you want to go into? And you say, okay, I want to go into this property A. Then $30,000 gets into this property A. And by the time we flip it and there's profits, on the profit, we will split it at 60-40%. Of course, 60% goes to you, 40% goes to Noble Sky because we do the rest of the work, right? So that we do on a performance split basis. If at a point in time, you have initially put in 30K and then you say that, oh, I've got an additional 40K to put into a second property. So now your whole capital together is 70K, right? So at 70K, you are now on the second tier. It's called the platinum tier. So at the platinum tier, you get to keep more. When we do a profit split, the property has made its profits on the sale, you get to keep 70% and 30% goes to Noble Sky, all right? And then the premier tier is when you have more than 250K of capital invested into various properties, or maybe it can even be a single property or various different properties. As long as you hit above 250K in capital, you now in the premier tier, you get to keep 80% of your profits and 20% goes to Noble Sky. So you guys get this picture. So this is how we ensure that you get the most out of your investment, because in order for us to earn more, for example, we need to ensure you get the best returns. So that's how both of us can actually get the best profit split together. Okay, so rental, it works the same way on the different tiers. On a monthly basis, you get 80-20 or 85-15 or 90-10. Okay, I'm sure you have questions at this stage. Keep them or write them out in the chat and I'll address them very soon. Okay. Now, if you want to do both Sky Flip and rental, instead of 5K on the left and 5K on the right, you can actually get two entities tonight, at only $8,500 instead of $10,500. Okay, so this is a bonus for you. If you decide you want to come on board, you want to do both, you can get two entities for only $8,500. All right, there's a discounted amount for you. Okay, so in summary, this is what you do. For example, if I've made a decision tonight, you made a decision, you realize, okay, this sounds good, and this is something I want to do. This is something I've been looking for, actually. That was what I was been looking for. I love the idea of investing in US, but I never knew there was such a service out there. So what you can do is you either pay $5,000 for one entity or $8,500 for two entities, and then we get all of the documents signed. And once we get all of you set up, then we start to send you all of the property analysis for you to start investing in. Okay, that's all how you need to get started. Okay, now I want you to take a listen to what Datuk Seri Paul Chong, he's one of our bigger investors from Malaysia. So this is what he has to say about using Noble Sky's Sky Invest service, the one that we've been sharing with you. Okay? Take a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Paul Chong from Malaysia. As the former CEO of a global investment bank, a private equity fund manager, a lawyer and an accountant, I'm well versed with investment models. Today, I want to share my experience in partnering with Raouf Said and Noble Sky International in an effort to build my real estate portfolio, especially in a country that I cannot conveniently reach or be in at all times, such as the United States. For my business and career, I'm based both in Hong Kong and Malaysia, but I've lived and worked in major financial centers around the world, including London and New York. So I know how expensive things can be in order for us to maintain a comfortable lifestyle. I got to know Raouf when I was attending his event back in 2018. Now, this was really a bizarre chance meeting. Back in 1995, I was a poor MBA student at Wharton, and I had to work part-time for $4 an hour, collecting information on property foreclosures and tax liens by going through, tons of records in public libraries in the US. I was working for a real estate investment company then. Now, they didn't tell me what all these were for. All I need to know was get the information for $4 an hour. And then Raouf's advertisement on tax liens caught me by surprise. I said, my God, this was 23 years ago when I was blindly collecting, market data, not knowing what my employer was going to do with them. And now Raouf will tell me. So from that chance meeting, we went on to talk about things beyond tax liens into actual real estate investments. Now, I'm a Chinese person, and I'm a firm believer in real estate. Ironically, despite me being a Wall Street investment banker, some 80% of my net worth is in real estate. I have property interests in the United States, the United Kingdom, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, and Australia, all of which I had to manage personally. Now, you can imagine the pain I go through every year when tax season arrives, right? Because reporting the rental income, the depreciation, the expenses, on all these properties across 6 countries around the world, it's a nightmare. I even have Deloitte do my tax returns for me, right? One of the big 4 accounting firms in the world. Then Ralph offered me something I found very, very useful. A professional team that will help me manage at least one of the countries that I'm invested in, the United States. From search to acquisition, from refurbishment to letting and sale. It's something that also can be structured on a profit-sharing basis. Now, as an investment banker, I love profit-sharing schemes because that gives my partner, in this case, Noble Sky, the utmost incentive to do the best they can, to realize the highest profit they can, rather than working for me or with me for a fixed fee. As a foreigner in the United States, I'm now assured that I can safely and comfortably own many properties in the United States, even without stepping foot, in the US. Noble Sky offered a business model that makes perfect sense to me. And that part of my business is now, if you like, run by a professional team that does not need my input or time at all. So I get time to focus on other businesses and family. Say, the three things that I value in them. Number one is their presence in the United States. I made a mistake previously buying half an office block in Melbourne, totally unseen. So my friend and I were sharing this, and we the realtor or the real estate broker showed us the building on Google Earth. We signed it, cut them a check while we were in Hong Kong, and that was it, right? That turned out to be a bit of a mistake because nothing beats what we call shoe leather investment in real estate. The ability to walk the streets, search the local databases, compare transactions across similar properties, understanding the local market, talking to local realtors, right? Getting a deep sense of the community, the demographics, and so on. So that is important. Number two, Ralph has a professional team that is highly experienced, not just as buyers, but as a team that can pull together the required labor and professionals for the renovation, refurbishment, and the ultimate sale, all at acceptable costs. And finally, what I find truly intoxicating is the drive that I see in Ralph and his team. They work tirelessly to manage, that property portfolio for us, and more importantly, their business acumen, the ability to time sales and at what we call optimum prices. Now, you may not want to sell properties at the highest possible prices at all times. There may be circumstances where you do wholesale deals. You make 3% less, but you make it 6 months sooner, and that's going to increase your internal rate of return tremendously. So it is this balance, right? The ability to read the market, not just buying at the lowest price and selling at the highest price and wait until the cows come home, but to time purchases and sales accordingly. That is one of Ralph's expertise. So since 2018, my group of investors in Noble Sky, under Ralph's guidance, have acquired 13 properties in New York and Florida states combined. Some of these we have achieved exits with fantastic returns. To draw an example, 6 of the properties we sold in Florida made us between 30 to 59% profit. And the 3 we sold in New York State, we were very happy with the exit, and one of them made us 85% in profits. So I want to thank Ralph, ICE, and the Noble Sky team for making my life easy as I venture into the real estate business in the United States. It's something that I can't do because I'm not in the US all the time, and they have been giving me returns that I will never dream of attaining in Malaysia. So if you have the chance to work for Ralph or work with Ralph and the Noble Sky team, do try and take the opportunity to do that as soon as you can. Thank you.
All right, that was a very long and very heartfelt testimonial from Datuk Sri Paul Chong. We've really enjoyed working with Datuk Sri Paul Chong, giving him the type of returns that you have heard him mention. And actually, you can just be anyone in Malaysia or from Singapore or Indonesia, and be investing and still enjoying the type of returns you can get from the US by using our Sky Invest services. All right, so now I want to share with you, if this is something that you're really interested in, let me share with you how we're going to sweeten the deal for you. All right, so if you are a serious investor, okay, we have some special bonuses for you to make this investment in the US something that makes a lot more sense, right? But we will only work with you, all right, if you meet this criteria, right? If first and foremost you believe that US real estate can give you superior returns. So most people, if you are still thinking at this stage, nah, I don't think the US can give me good returns, I think my local market can do me better, then by all means, this is not for you, and we are okay with that, right? But if you believe that the US real estate can do better for you in terms of returns, then we will love to work with you, right? Point number two, if you like to have 100% done for you real estate business. Okay, if you are someone who say that I want to have my hands on and doing everything on my own, I would rather do everything on your own, then this is something obviously not for you. This, we can't be working with you, because as this is something that you believe that you can gain from, right? Of course, 100% done for your business will also mean that you have all the say. We will actually be doing the work for you. If you decide that it's a property that you don't want to get into, then it's something that we can't force you to buy into, right? So this is what we're going to be doing for you. So the point number three, we'll work with you if you have the mindset of an investor and a businessman. So you've got to understand investments anywhere in your own country or even in the US, in this case, is not just a buy and sell kind of transaction. There are works that need to be done in between. So we need you to understand that this is a business. A portfolio of properties requires work, and sometimes not everything will be rosy, right? Sometimes there may be situation on the ground that is beyond our control that we may not be able to to overcome. So you got to understand that as a business owner, that we as a service provider will want to do our best for you, but there's just certain things that you got to understand that business means that sometimes things may not work in your favor, but of course we will do our best. And the last thing, most importantly, we will only work with you if you are not seeking a get-rich-quick scheme. I know the numbers in some of the examples we show you are really interesting, and you can see like, wow, if I were to get 95% return and I put in 100K, means I will get almost double my money very quickly, right? That is true in terms of the kind of returns, but it may not be the kind of returns that you get all the time. We have our minimum targets for you, but understand that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme for you. Okay, so if you meet all of these criteria, we'll be happy to work with you, and we're going to be sharing with you some really great bonuses. It's going to make your investment a lot of sense. All right, so I hope you guys are ready. Give me a thumbs up if you are ready to see special bonus number one if you're going to start investing in the US. All right, only 1, 2. I'm going to begin only if there's a 5 thumbs up at least. Anyone else who's interested? Come on. Interested in bonus? No, nobody's interested in bonus. Okay, we got 3, 4, 5. Okay, great. So let me carry on with, go ahead with special bonus 1. So this is not offered anywhere else out there for sure, I'm pretty sure, in any kind of investment, because this is what we're going to be doing for you. If you decide to come on board as an investor, we're going to offer you what we call a matching capital. And this is what it means. Whether you decide to do flipping or rent, we're going to give you an additional $2,000 on top of your capital to match your capital. So which means as long as you put in $2,000 or more, we'll put in additional $2,000 for you. It's like free $2,000 given to put in your portfolio. You guys get it? And if you decide to come in as Sky Duo, which means you get 2 entities, right? Paying $8,500 for Sky Duo, we're going to match you with $5,000 in terms of matching capital. So how does this matching capital work? I'm going to demonstrate to you in an illustration. Let's take a look at the table on the left, which is if you have matching capital with a bonus, and the right hand side is without matching capital. This is what it's going to look like. So for example, if you decide to get into a flipping project, which needs a total of $100,000 of funds. Okay, so in your own funds, your own capital, you put out $50,000, right? On the left-hand side, on top of $50,000, Noble Sky is going to put in an additional $5,000 to add on to you the capital matching, right? So your total capital that you have on the left-hand side will be 55K versus 50K on the right-hand side. So this is what's going to happen. So let's say between 9 to 15 months, the property is sold at 166K, already sold now with profits, right? So understand that your share of the sale, if if it was without matching capital on the right, it's only 50%, which is 50,000, which is your capital, right? So you get 50% off the sale, which is 83,000. But with the $5,000 capital matching, your ownership of this project is actually 55%. So now you get 91.3 thousand off the sale. So this is how you're going to get your money back. So step one, before we do any profit split, remember there's a profit split, you know what's going. So before we do any profit split, we're going to return you your capital first. Makes sense, right? Capital 50,000. But not only are we giving you back your 50,000, we're also going to give you the $5,000 matching capital. So you already earn $5,000 on the exit. Okay, when this property is exiting, we return to you 50,000 plus 5K. You already earn 5K, which is the matching capital. On the right hand side, you only get back your $50,000. Get it? Step two, profit on the balance. So which means on the balance, which is after we return your capital back to you with the matching capital, we give you 70%. So because you've given 50K, which means you're in the tier where you get 70%. So you're going to get back 25,410 versus 33,100. And step three, we combine all of this. So in total, you take back, after taking out $50,000 of your capital, with the matching capital, you take back 80,410. Without matching capital, you take back 73,100. Okay. So total returns on the right hand side without matching capital is 46.2, which is already great. But imagine with the matching capital, your total take back is 60.82%. That's your ROI versus without matching capital. So you see, just because of the matching capital, you will earn a lot more. And that's a difference of 31.65% increase between the two. Is this great? You guys love matching capital, Mr. Jose? Yeah. So Mr. Jose, you can already see how this will work for you in your favor. You get the matching capital. And I believe me, nowhere else people will actually offer you such a thing. Thank you, Mr. Jose. All right, ready for bonus number 2. We actually have a second bonus to sweeten this deal even more, to make it, you know, almost a no-brainer, right? So people are thinking, like, I got to come up with $5,000, but this is where it's going to get really interesting for you, because for bonus number 2, we're going to offer you a return of the Sky Invest fee on the profit split. Okay, so remember that when you have to pay $5,000 for setup, or maybe $8,500, you're doing both, we will return you $5,000 or $8,500 if you meet the minimum requirements of $50,000 of your own capital when in your investment, so that you will qualify for this bonus. Okay, which means that if you qualify for this bonus, we're going to actually return what you have paid to get yourself set up. So which means that your setup is technically free. $0. Okay, so this is how it works. So remember earlier on, you get back your 50K, you get back your 5K matching capital free for you. Then you take back your 25,410, which is your profit split, 70% of profit split. And on top of that, we're going to return you your Sky Invest setup fees. So this particular example is the Sky Duo, which means this particular investor, let's say yourself, you paid $8,500 upfront to get both entities set up, right? So in this particular scenario, when we are doing the profit split, we will return you $8,500 that you actually paid for upfront. So that will increase your returns again from $23,100 to now $38,910. It's a world of difference between 46.2% and 77.82%, right? To me, it's already, you know, I told Ralph, like, oh my God, this is just too much. But he says that it's okay. We are very confident in what we can achieve for our clients. And that's what he wants to give as a bonus for investors who decide to make a decision to come on board. Is there anything else that we're going to offer you? In fact, Ralph got really generous, and I love him for it, of course. Unfortunately, when I came in in 2018, all of these bonuses were not around, so I didn't qualify for any of this. But you guys are lucky, because today these are bonuses that you can actually qualify for. So this is the last one, the fast action bonus. You can actually get an additional $500 on top of the $5,000 or $2,000 capital matching. You're going to get $500 additional money to put into your investments if you decide to take action within the next 48 hours. Right, so understand there's no pressure selling here. We're not telling you, okay, you want to qualify for all of these fast action bonus, you got to buy now or got to commit now. No, we understand that investment is a serious business, a serious consideration. You need time to actually think about whether this makes sense for you, right? You probably need to speak to your spouse. You probably need to speak to your maybe business partners. You need to look at your numbers, whether it makes sense, whether this forms part of your bigger financial goals to pay for your children. Or, you know, I know you a lot of things that you need to think about. Right, so which is why we tell you that fast action in this case still gives you 48 hours to make a decision. If you do take a decision to take on the Sky Invest bonus, a Sky Invest service, then we will top up all of your bonus 1 and 2 with this additional $500 matching capital. Okay, so I hope you guys got this. And so on top of what you're going to get really in the Sky Invest service is to add on to everything we're doing for you, we're also adding on bonus number 1, bonus number 2, and the fast action bonus. So this brings a total value what you're going to get is $51,180, but you can start today with as little as only $5,000, and that's your only investment that you need to think about right now. Okay, Ralph puts in his own personal guarantee, not my guarantee, but this is Ralph's guarantee as the founder of Noble Sky International. He says that if he is unable to acquire property for you for flipping of at least minimum 30% or rental minimum 10%, he will refund every single cent that you pay for the Sky Invest service today. For example, the $5,000 you pay today, on top of $5,000 that gets returned to you, you will return an additional 20% of the $5,000. Okay, so which means that we are so, because Ralph is so confident of what we are able to do, and in fact, the only reason why we can be so confident is because of the type of research that we do. Our research strategies are very sound. We do not take risks, unnecessary risks. We don't go into a market where we can't achieve the returns. So the question is it possible that you end up with lesser than 30%? It may be, right? Maybe you end up with 25%, but still that's not a bad return. We're not saying that you're going to lose money. We're saying that Ralph's guarantee is saying that if you don't hit that 30%, it could be at 28%, right? That still is below 30%, but this guarantee still comes into the picture. You can actually take a screenshot of this for your own reference if you want to, right? So this is everything we're going to be offering to you to make it so much of a no-brainer for you to actually consider the Sky Invest service. So this is all you need to think about right now. If you want to get started, if you are pretty clear with what we have to offer you already, okay, you can actually get started with the Sky Invest services. You can see the links right now. If you want to get the Sky Flip or Sky Rent, only is $5,000. You're going to get Sky Duo, it's $8,500. You can go to the link right now and make payment. You can go using your credit card, make payment. If you decide you want to break it up into 12 months interest free, you can actually call your bank and tell them to break it up for you. All right. Now, some of you may be thinking, I need more time to think about it. So this is, we totally respect that. And personally, myself, this was something which I didn't jump into either as an investor. I took time to think about it. So this is what we want to offer to you, right? If you want to lock in all of these bonuses, but you cannot make a commitment now, you cannot make a commitment tonight, which is fine, totally fine. You want to discuss it with your partners and spouses, go ahead. In fact, we want you to actually make a discussion, but we also want you to lock in all of your bonuses. We also want you to get the maximum benefit from your investment, right? So how do you do that? How do you lock in? Is basically you just need to put in $100 deposit tonight, because this offer, this $100 lock in, if you were to go to the link tonight, it's going to end by midnight. You're not going to be able to log in anymore. And this $100 is 100% refundable within 48 hours. So which means what you need to do is after you make the $100 deposit, okay, our consultants will be in touch with you to discuss everything that you need to discuss, questions that you may have and everything. So say within 48 hours, you say like, okay, this is not for me, I don't want to go ahead, then we'll be happy to return you the $100 of your deposit. But if you say, okay, great, this is for me, I want to proceed, then if you decide to come on the Sky Invest, on the Sky Flip or Sky Rent, right? So you will pay $100 lesser. So instead of $5,000, you pay $4,900 because you already paid $100 tonight. You get it? Okay. So basically, this is all you need to do. My suggestion for you is to lock in your bonuses if you cannot make a decision tonight on the full 5,000 or 8,500. Which is okay. Lock in your bonuses, because understand we're not going to get rich from this $100 at all. We're not here. We didn't do a 2-hour webinar tonight just so that we can earn $100 from you. That's exactly not what we're doing. We're going to get into a long-term partnership with you. In fact, some of our investors have been with us for a good 3 years now. It's because they see the value of the kind of returns that they've been getting. They have been reinvesting into various projects, or the profits that they've received, they've put into additional projects later, or they've been putting in over time multiple capital points to acquire multiple properties, right? Because again, as I mentioned, this is how we work with you, how we can earn together is through a long-term partnership and not to earn $100 from you tonight, really. But this $100 really is an opportunity for you. If you decide that, okay, this is something you want to seriously think about, go ahead and log in your deposits. Go into the link, you can see bit.ly Sky Invest Deposit, make your deposit, right? Then take your time, 48 hours, you can give us a decision. But also think about this, if you require more time. What if you require, I need 72 hours, I need 96 hours, I need 4 days, 5 days, I need a week. By all means, let our consultants know that you need more time. We will honor the refund of the $100 for you. Okay, we are not here to keep your $100, but we want you to benefit by getting in your bonuses. All right, so lock your bonuses in first at least. Okay, Mr. Jose, thank you so much for making that deposit. Welcome in advance. Okay, I hope you will get a good discussion for consultants and make the decision if you decide to come on board. Right, so we really look forward to having you join us in this journey of investing in real estate. We will sit down with you. And then discuss what are your options, what are your targets. If you want to do what kind of returns, and then we will actually get all of these questions answered. All right. So I've actually come to the end of my webinar for tonight. Okay. At this stage, I would like to take any of questions that you may have, all right, so that I can address them now. This is already 10:40 on my clock. Thank you so much for spending time tonight. At this stage, if you've got questions, please go ahead and ask them now. You can type out your questions in the chat. Me and my team will be happy to answer any of your questions. Go ahead. Oh yes, the earlier bonuses, again, this is for you for spending 2 hours with us tonight. Go ahead and do this as well if you want to get your hands on this. Again, if you think that you're not going to invest and take up the Sky Invest service, it's totally fine as well. This is for you already, just because you attended tonight, but you need to do this for us. Share the good news about what you have learned tonight. I am pretty sure for me, after I learned about US real estate investing, I never looked at real estate investing the same way again. Really, everything has changed my mind. So you probably need to rewire a lot of things, start to realize that, oh my God, there's actually a better way to invest in real estate. Right, so if you want these resources, this is what you need to do. Take a screenshot, just share in your timeline, in your feeds, Instagram or Facebook, one favorite lesson that you've learned from today and why, and then give us these hashtags. All right. Okay. So back to where we were. You either get started now for the 5,000 or 8,005, or simply lock in your $100 deposit to lock in all of your bonuses tonight. If you go to the website, Sky Invest Deposit, you're going to realize that the clock is ticking. Okay, the clock is ticking, and you have about 1 hour and 17 minutes left to log in your bonus, because the website literally will expire after by midnight. Okay, so 2359 is when you can log in for the last time. So go ahead and do that. We have probably just 2 more minutes on the clock. I don't want to take any more of your time. Thank you so much for the rest of you who have actually been with me for the past 2 hours and a half to learn about US real estate. I hope you've gotten massive value from tonight. Okay, please, Mr. Pei, thank you so much. I appreciate you being with us. Again, go ahead and get your log in your bonuses if this is something that you probably want to consider. Take your time. 48 hours is a good time for you to think about it. If you need more time, let us know. Otherwise, we'll be happy to refund you your $100. Okay, go ahead and lock in your bonuses. Any questions that you may have right now, burning questions that you have, please ask me. Okay, I'll be happy to address them. Otherwise, we'll have about maybe 1.5 minutes on the clock. Okay, questions? Okay, at this stage, I would like to address one thing. I know a lot of people will be thinking, if I get started, I pay my $5,000, for example, but my funds, I only have, maybe I need to liquidate some of my stocks, and then I have $50,000 to invest, right? That's going to be maybe 2 months, 3 months from now. How that's going to work out? That's totally perfectly fine. What you want to do is actually log in your Sky Invest service now. You can take your time. Only 3 months from now, for example, you have that the funds to invest. That's when you actually can start to deploy. And your 2 years service that we run for you, right? Remember, 2 years of corporate compliance to all of the tax filing and bookkeeping and everything, right? For 2 years, only begin on your first property acquisition. Okay, so that's to be fair to you. Although you may start to buy in the service today, but we will start your contract in a way to do the work for you only on your first property acquisition. So you don't have to worry about what if I start investing only later. What if my funds are only available only 3 months from now? Does that mean I lose 3 months? No, you don't lose 3 months. In fact, your service will begin only on your first property acquisition. So to be fair to you, right? So you don't have to worry. You can go ahead and make payment for the full service if you're already ready, if you're pretty clear with what we have to offer already, or lock in your bonus and speak to our consultants, who those people who have been WhatsApping you, right? They've been reminding you about tonight's webinar. They will be the ones to be in touch with you and answering all of the questions that you may have. Right. If anyone else has any question, otherwise we're going to end in 1 minute. Again, appreciate your time so much for spending Thursday night with us. It's been really great. I love it every time I have to share this opportunity with my fellow Singaporeans and my Asian neighbors, Singapore and Malaysia and Indonesia. Firstly, of course, we hope we can get to travel pretty soon. I know that the borders are opening. We have vaccinated travel lanes and things like that. I'm really looking forward to traveling to your countries, but I gotta do one thing first. My passport has actually expired somewhere last year because I didn't need the prospects of being able to travel. So yeah, I look forward to actually renewing my passport and being able to maybe meet some of you guys, right? Together with Noble Sky team, we can actually do workshops in person or maybe do events over there. Yeah, and we're gonna be having a Deepavali event end of October. So if you guys actually come on board, you as a client, you get to enjoy joining our events as well, where we have fun, food, and things like that. Although you may be doing it on Zoom, we'll actually get food shipped to you. All right, so you can enjoy the festivities together with us. Okay, so I do not see any further questions. Thank you so much again, everyone, for spending the night here with me. We have 1 hour and 13 minutes on the clock to lock in your bonuses. Go ahead and do that if you have not done so. Thank you so much for your time. And all right, so that's it. Till next time, take care. Bye-bye. So team, you can actually end this webinar already. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Mr. Pei, thank you. Bye.